Hi, welcome back guys. This is your sensei, back with another fanfiction. This is the movie of What If Naruto Acquired Hidden Sword? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Team 7 will be Sakura Haruno, Sasuke Uchiha, and Naruto Uzumaki. Yata! Yelled Naruto as he jumped up in happiness. He looked over to Sasuke who was staring off into space. Wait, Ichiraku-sensei, why do I get stuck with this person? Naruto, out of all the genin graduates, you had the lowest score, reprimanded Ichiraku. However, unfortunately, all of your sensei is not in Konoha at the time. The senseis have been called to duty by the daimyo in order to escort him to an important diplomatic conference. They will be back within 2 months. 2 months? Asked one of the genin graduates. Yes, said Ichiraku, 2 months. You will, however, be called in within 1 month's time, and I also suggest using some of the extra time to train. That is all. Good luck. As Ichiraku left the room, Naruto turned to Sakura. Sakura-san, do you want dash? And no, I don't want to go on a date with you, you good-for-nothing waste of space. You will never be able to become a ninja. You've asked so many times I've lost track. Why don't you just stop asking me? I will never go out with you, never in a million years. Yelled Sakura. Sakura paused and took a deep breath. After that yelling, Sakura felt better than she had in years. Finally, she was able to get what she had been feeling about the dead last off her shoulders. Naruto stared in shock at Sakura. Everything that he had ever done had always been to better himself as a ninja. Was he really as bad as Sakura claimed him to be? Was he really that useless as a ninja? Naruto collapsed to his hands and knees and he could feel his breaths become shorter and shorter. As he kneeled on the floor, Naruto started to realize the gravity of his situation. There was no chance for love for him. He was the vessel of the beast who had ripped so many loved ones from the people of Konoha. How could anyone possibly ever care about him, let alone date him? Naruto had never felt so low. He had hit rock bottom. Naruto had enough of everyone staring at him and decided to leave the room, jumping out a window and down towards the school playground. He continued running until he found a tree in an isolated area. There, he finally let darkness overtake him. I mean, Naruto is so stupid, complained a voice. Naruto groggily came to his sense and continued to listen to the voice who was complaining about him. I have turned him down at least 100 times, yet he still doesn't get that I don't want to date him. How stupid is that? Sakura, said Ino, the same could be said about you. You have asked Sasuke out at least twice as many times as Naruto has asked you out, yet you still don't give up. That's true. Sometimes, though, I wish he'd just shut up. He's so goddamn loud, it makes me want to rip my ears off so I won't have to listen to him, said Sakura. That is true, said Ino slowly. I really hope Naruto doesn't hear what I'm about to say. Why? While it is true from what my father says, it would crush him. In actuality, he's not that good of a ninja. He's a horrible example of what it means to be a ninja. I mean, he wears an orange jumpsuit. You don't wear orange if you are going to be a ninja. It sticks out like a sore thumb, and any enemy would be able to see him from a mile away. Then there are his pranks. While some of them are hilarious, it means that he isn't taking his ninja training seriously. Meanwhile, in the tree, Naruto could feel his heart aching. Not because what was said was not true, but because they were completely true. He really hadn't been taking his training seriously. Naruto sighed as he looked at himself. It was true that he didn't have anything other than his orange jumpsuit which screamed, "Kill me!" Naruto looked down in sadness. Sure, he had gotten attention, but it was all negative attention. All the attention that he had ever received was from pranks, which in the end had causes his grades to slowly slip. But despite his cheerful attitude that he showed while in class, his attitude was anything but that. In truth, he was hurting on the inside. On the inside, he felt like there was a kunai being driven through his heart every time someone looked at him with disdain. But Naruto felt that it was time to move past that. He believed that it was time to buckle down and become a real ninja. Hokage's office, Sarutobi yawned as he looked over the paperwork in front of him. The paperwork in question detailed a request for making a bathhouse for the civilian council members and their families exclusively. Denied, grumbled Sarutobi. Honestly, do they really expect me to give preferential treatment to them because they are council members? Idiots. Sarutobi went back to doing paperwork for about 15 more minutes before he heard a knock on his door. Come in. The door opened to reveal Naruto with a tear-streaked face. Naruto, what's wrong? Gigi, can I talk to you? Asked Naruto in a soft voice. Of course, you can talk to me about anything. What is wrong? Am I any good as a ninja? Am I where I should be for a graduating genin? So that is what is bothering you, said Sarutobi. Come here, Naruto. Naruto walked over to Sarutobi, who embraced Naruto in a bear hug. Naruto, no matter what anyone says, you will always be strong. You were able to endure the torment that this village gave you. Not many people can do that. That being said, you could always be stronger. Now, I can help you a little bit. Come with me. Sarutobi led Naruto to a door with red kanji for the word, fire. Sarutobi placed his hand on the kanji and channeled his chakra. The kanji glowed white, and a hiss could be heard, signaling the unlocking of the door. Sarutobi pulled the door open. Sarutobi grabbed 4 scrolls from the room and exited, heading back out to where Naruto waited impatiently, bouncing on the ball of his feet. What are these? Asked Naruto when Sarutobi placed the 4 scrolls on the table in front of Naruto. Naruto, these 4 scrolls are different fighting styles to help you get started. However, I will only allow you to take 2. I can't be giving you preferential treatment over the rest of my ninja. Gigi, if I can solve your paperwork problem, will you allow me to take a 3rd scroll? Asked Naruto. Solve the bane of Hokage. Please tell me the answer. I'll give you anything, pleaded Sarutobi as he got on his knees in front of Naruto in a bowing position. Please, sensei. I'll even give you your own S-rank mission if you want. Okay, said Naruto, but only because you asked so nicely. The key to paperwork is shadow clones. They can do work on their own, can't they? Just have the clones do the paperwork. Alright, take any 3 of those scrolls, said Sarutobi as he started hitting his head on the desk. Stupid. So you know the secret of the clone technique, huh? The secret of shadow clones. What secret? What are you talking about? Asked Naruto. I just assumed that because they were capable of individual thought that they could do the work, and because they were copies of you they would make the same decisions as you would. No, Naruto, there is a secret behind the shadow clone technique. Anything that the clone does, the original will also learn. The only thing that a clone cannot do is anything related to the physical body. You can have it practice taijutsu, and you will know how to do whatever the clone had practiced, but you will have to train your body. Oh, so can I still have any 3 of the scrolls? Said Naruto. Of course you can, replied. Sarutobi, take your pick. Thank you, Gigi, yelled Naruto as he looked at the 4 scrolls that lay before him. Naruto saw that 3 of the scrolls detailed a taijutsu fighting style. The final scroll detailed a kenjutsu fighting style. The sword style was called Hiten Mitsurugi. The other 3 fighting styles were Sini Lihyu, Muay Thai/Baran, and the Rokushiki. I'll take these 3, said Naruto, holding up the styles, Sini Lihyu, Rokushiki, and Hiten Mitsurugi. That is fine, said Sarutobi, smiling at his surrogate grandson. Now go train yourself in these 3 styles. When you come in for your pre-team meeting, I want you to be proficient in at least one of those styles. Also, get yourself out of that horrendous orange outfit. No one will take you seriously in that. Got it, Jig? I'll make you proud of me, declared Naruto. Naruto ran out of the Hokage's office with the 3 scrolls back to his apartment. Once he got to his apartment, Naruto set the scrolls on his bedside table and then walked over to his closet. Upon opening it, Naruto was semi-horrified. There was nothing but orange in the closet. Sure, it was his favorite color, but after his rude awakening, Naruto really didn't think that this much orange was necessary. Well, he had some t-shirts, but none of them were made with durability in mind. Naruto quickly left the apartment to go find a decent shinobi equipment store. Get out, yelled the shopkeeper after Naruto entered the first store. The same thing happened again a few blocks down. Finally, Naruto walked to the final store, Wolf Claw Weapons. Deciding that the best way to get his supplies would be to use a transformation in order to hide his true identity, Naruto transformed into a young boy, about 15 years of age, dressed in a regular t-shirt and shorts. On his forehead, Naruto also wore his hitayate. After taking a deep breath, Naruto entered through the doors. After entering, Naruto could immediately tell that this weapon shop was much more serious than the other weapon shops that he had visited. As he looked around, Naruto could feel the gaze of the shopkeeper on him. When he finally found some weapons that he might buy, the shopkeeper walked over to Naruto. "Release!" cried the shopkeeper. Suddenly Naruto's disguise disappeared, and his true form was revealed. Naruto stared at the shopkeeper before letting his head fall. "I'll be going now then." Naruto began his slow walk towards the door. Meanwhile, the shopkeeper just stared at the boy walking towards the door to leave his store. "Boy, where are you going? I'm not going to kick you out. You are welcome in this store. You won't get any CRP here because of your tenant. You are always welcome here without any prejudice." Naruto stopped and turned to look at the shopkeeper. "My name is Kazuto Yagami. You will always be welcome in this shop. So can I help you with anything?" Naruto stared for a few minutes at the shopkeeper. The man stood at about 5 feet 6 inches and was relatively young. He looked to be about 19 years old. He was wearing what looked to be a blacksmith apron. His arms were very thick and bore multiple scars, no doubt from mistakes while forging. His face was cleanly shaven, but there was a small goatee as well. His eyes were a deep electric blue that reminded Naruto of a thunderstorm. The action that the man took surprised him. He did not expect anyone in the village to not discriminate against, especially after learning what he had within himself. Stammered Naruto before he got his thoughts back together. "I need some more professional-looking clothing." "Yes, I can see that," commented Kazuto as he looked over the orange jumpsuit Naruto was wearing. "Let's go take a look and see what I have." Kazuto led Naruto through the store to where they had some of the most durable shinobi clothing. "So, what do you think? See anything you like?" asked Kazuto. Naruto nodded and went to pick out his new clothing. Naruto grabbed a white long-sleeve shirt and a pair of black breeds that had with a large amount of pockets. "I'll take another 6 of these in this size," said Naruto. Kazuto nodded and grabbed a few more sets of similar clothing off the shelves. "Do you have the clothing with weight seals? And some kunai and shuriken?" Kazuto nodded, making a note of it on his notepad. "Will that be all?" asked Kazuto. Would it be possible to get a bakken, some decent kunai and shuriken, and some fingerless gloves?" asked Naruto. "Of course," cried Kazuto as he led Naruto to a different section. "Now I'm going to need some measurement, so please hold out your hands." Naruto held out his hands and Kazuto took out a measurement tape. After unreeling the measurement tape, Kazuto held the tape against Naruto's arms to take the measurement. "Okay, so you a bakken of fairly good length, but not extremely long," murmured Kazuto. He let the tape measure reek back in before he walked over to the selection of bakken. "Here, try this one," said Kazuto as he tossed a bakken at Naruto. Naruto deftly caught the bakken in the air and summoned it sewn to his side. After inspecting the wooden sword for any scars or blemishes, Naruto looked up with a smile. "I'll take it," he proclaimed. "But how much is it going to cost me? I don't have that much money to spend." "Well, let's go take it how much this stuff will cost. If you can't pay for it all right now, well, I'll see if I can figure something out for you." "Come on," said Kazuto as he led Naruto to the front of the store. Once there, he rung up all the items and the total came out to be 200,000 yen. Upon learning this, Naruto hung his head. "I'm sorry, sir," said Naruto. "I won't be able to pay that. I don't have the money to do so. I guess I'll have to just take the weapons. I only have 10,000 yen. "What are you talking about? Only take the weapons? Nonsense. I'll cut you a deal so that you'll be able to afford everything. I'll take half the amount of money you have right now, and whenever you are free, you can work back the money by helping me in the forge." "You would do that for me?" asked Naruto, "even though it will probably take a long time for me to pay you back." "I'm sure," said Kazuto. "Now, I'll take 5,000 yen, and then you will go change out of that nasty orange jumpsuit and into these new clothes." Then you will begin your training with that Bakken. Now get out of here. But do come back here when you are ready for your katana. We shall make one together." Naruto grinned widely and paid the amount before grabbing the bags, and whatever he couldn't carry himself, he had his shadow clones carry them. Naruto hurried over to his apartment and began stripping himself of the hideous piece of clothing that was his jumpsuit. Naruto pulled on the white long-sleeve shirt. The white shirt fit snugly on Naruto, but was still loose enough that Naruto still had his full range of motions unrestricted. Naruto then pulled on the black breathes and finally, the fingerless gloves. To finish his new look off, Naruto tied a sash around his waist, a dark orange sash. Naruto walked over to the closet and grabbed his ninja pouch before dumping all the supplied in it out onto his bed. Naruto then had one of his shadow clones fill it with kunai and shuriken. Meanwhile, Naruto had put his Bakken into the sash and had grabbed 2 of the fighting styles, Hiten Mitsurugi and Sini Lihyu. Murmured Naruto, since I'm going to be starting my life as a ninja anew, I'm probably going to make some changes, like eating other foods. That is not ramen. I guess I could try going to the grocery store. Maybe they won't notice with this look I have. Without thinking any more on the subject, Naruto placed his Bakken, scrolls, and weapons pouch on the bed and started walking to the grocery store nearby. However, before he left, Naruto had 2 clones read the scroll for the Sini Lihyu, and after that, the clones would go to a training ground and begin practice in the use of the fighting style. When he reached the grocery store, Naruto tentatively walked through the entrance. When he didn't get kicked out, he continued walking through the store, but the entire time he was in the store, Naruto was on edge, constantly glancing around, waiting until someone noticed who he actually was. But to his surprise, no one commented at all. In fact, some people even said hello to him. After grabbing some meat, vegetables, milk, and other such supplies, Naruto headed to the checkout point. "That will be 1,000 yen, sir," said the shopkeeper as he smiled at Naruto. Naruto nodded and counted out the money from his wallet, while thinking to himself that he might need to make a break for it. "Here you go," said Naruto, dropping the exact amount of change into the shopkeeper's hand. "Have a nice day." "You too," cried the shopkeeper before Naruto walked out with bags in hand, and then he made a mad dash for his apartment while grinning with glee. He had somehow made it through the grocery store without being kicked out. A first. Naruto whistled as he put away the groceries in a surprisingly still working refrigerator. As he walked around his apartment, Naruto wondered why he didn't get kicked out of the grocery store. Naruto also realized he was in great need of some money. As he activated the weight seals on his clothing so that they would weigh about 20 pounds, Naruto tried to think of some ways that he could get some extra money. Maybe after he had paid Kazuto back, he could continue to work at the forge and get some extra money. But that was only after he paid back Kazuto. He needed extra money as soon as possible. Maybe it was possible that he would be able to do some D-rank missions to get some extra cash. Naruto threw a few experimental punches in the air and began walking to the training grounds that his clones were at after he grabbed his weapons pouch and his Bakken. Naruto woke up bright and early as the sun was rising in his apartment. He was still dressed in the clothes from the previous day, having collapsed in his bed after working his tail off during training. After eating some normal breakfast, aka cereal, Naruto began to plan out the rest of his day. He decided that he would have a clone go to the library to read some scrolls on 9 different jutsu, 1 from each element and 3 non-elemental jutsu. He would also have 2 clones go over to the forge so that he could start repaying Kazuto back for all the things he had bought the day before. In addition to that, he would have another 5 clones go to Sarutobi to ask if they could do some D-rank missions in order to raise funds. Finally, he would go to the training ground and using his incredible amount of chakra, would create 100 or so clones to help him in practicing his taijutsu and chakra control, while he himself would do physical training. After doing what he had set out to do, Naruto created 16 clones, each of them having a specific task to do. "Alright, you bunch, you all know what you have to do. Do it and do not cause any problems at all. Extras, if you see any of your brothers misbehaving, I want you to knock them out as soon as you can. I don't care if you have to stab them in the neck to do so, but I want them dispelled. Is that clear?" "Yes, sir," said the clones. "Good. And when you do knock the other clone out, I want you to create another clone to replace the one that was acting up. And those of you who are going to the library, I don't want you going for the most powerful just straight off the bat. No, I want you to go for the D-ranked ones for now. Those of you who are going to the forge, if Kazuto isn't there when you arrive, wait for him. Now go. All the clones left the house and ran off to fulfill their appointed task. Deciding he would only be focusing on taijutsu this morning, Naruto decided to leave his scrolls and Bakken behind in his apartment. Naruto stayed behind a few minutes before leaving the apartment and locking up before he made his way to one of the training grounds. Naruto was about to start his practice when he heard a voice. "Hello, good friend. Who are you?" Naruto turned around to see the most horrifying sight he had the displeasure of seeing in his whole life. A man in green spandex. "What the hell is this monstrosity?" yelled Naruto as he started backing away from the man. "Who the hell are you, and why are you wearing that thing?" "My name, youthful sir, is Might Guy." "And what is yours?" Uzumaki Naruto," replied Naruto. "What are you doing out here so early in the morning? Most people are still sleeping at this hour." Naruto was utterly confused by the man. Normal people, even Chunin and Jounin, do not get up this early. They usually slept in until 7 or 8 in the morning. What was with this man that he woke up at 6 in the morning? "Ah, so you are young Naruto-kun?" asked Guy. "Hokage-sama told me about you. He also told me that you might want my help seeing as I am a taijutsu specialist. So how is work going with your new taijutsu style?" "Well, Guy-san," said Naruto, "it's been going pretty well. I have had my clones training in the use of the actual style while I am working on increasing my physical strength. Based on my memories from yesterday's clones, I have progressed to the level where I can finally use my ki, the physical portion of my chakra." "Good," said Guy as he took a stance that Naruto would recognize anywhere, the starting stance to Sini Lihyu. "Then I shall test you on how far you have come. Are you ready, Naruto-kun?" asked Guy. "As ready as I'll ever be," replied Naruto as he took the same stance as Guy. Naruto waited a few moments before he charged at Guy, creating a clone as he did. The clone rushed forwards while Naruto jumped to the side in order to evaluate the fight between Guy and his clone. The clone threw a strong punch right at Guy's face, which was blocked with ease. Guy then kicked the clone in the side of his face, sending BLD flying and making the clone stumble backwards. Guy tried to continue his assault, but was stopped by the clone's solid defense. "Interesting," murmured Guy as he withdrew from the clone. "It seems that Naruto has indeed progressed far into the style for only having practiced the style for one afternoon. Now come, Naruto-kun, show me what your true strength is. This cannot be your limit." "You are correct," said Naruto, walking forwards as the clone dispersed. "That is not my limit. I shall show you the limit of my power, and then I will push on beyond that limit. You may be a ninja of a higher level than me, but that does not mean you cannot be beaten." Naruto charged at Guy at his full speed, well as fast as he could go with the weights on, and just as Guy was about to punch Naruto in the face, Naruto ducked underneath the punch and was able to place his hands on Guy's stomach. "Haka Sudu Sho," yelled Naruto as he launched Guy backwards into a tree. "Huh," laughed Guy as he stood back up from off the ground. "You are good. In fact, you might be one of the best starting practitioners of this style to ever exist. If you ever need my help with this style or a sparring partner, come to Training Ground 9 at 9 a.m. That is when my Genin team is practicing and you'll be allowed to practice with us." "You have your own Genin team?" asked Naruto in surprise. "Yes, I do," replied Guy as he left Naruto by himself in the training field, "but I would suggest more practice before you come. You aren't strong enough to even last a second with either of my taijutsu practitioners." "Thank you, Guy-san," cried Naruto as he bowed in the direction of Guy's retreating form. Guy merely waved his hand, acknowledging Naruto's thanks. As soon as he could no longer see Guy, Naruto sprang into action. It was time to begin his training. Concentrating, Naruto summoned 200 shadow clones into existence. Naruto then began directing half of them to focus solely on taijutsu. 50 of the clones would spar with each other while the other 50 would spend their time polishing up and continuing to work on the actual taijutsu style. Naruto then directed the other 50 to work on chakra control. 25 of them would be working on attaching a leaf to their forehead with chakra, while another 25 of them would be doing an exercise that one of the clones had found in the library, tree walking. Naruto smiled as he saw his clones obediently and diligently following his commands. Naruto then began his part of the training, the physical aspect. Naruto began running laps around the training ground, intending to run around the training ground until it was either lunchtime or he dropped from exhaustion. As he was running, Naruto noticed Kiba running with Akamaru. Deciding that he didn't want to run into the fur ball and his partner, Naruto turned at an angle so that he would still be within the training grounds, but he wouldn't be seen by Kiba and Akamaru. It seemed that Lady Luck was not smiling upon Naruto this day as soon he saw the rest of the graduating class. Seeing as this was an unusual occurrence, Naruto decided that he would do some eavesdropping. Using what skill he had in tree climbing, with his hands of course, Naruto scaled up one of the trees nearby in order to listen to the conversation. Waiting for Kiba to show up, said Ino. Then out of the bushes came Kiba and Akamaru. Naruto reached into his ninja pouch and grabbed a kunai, readying it if he needed to use it to defend himself in case the ninja below him found out he was listening to their conversation. Okay, said Sakura, now that we're all here, let's begin the meeting. The main reason that this meeting was called is known as Naruto. We all know that he has the potential to become a good ninja, but he will never be a good one because of his likelihood to prank and joke around when he could be training. Hey, yelled Kiba, it's not like you train either. In fact, if we were to pit the two of you against each other, I'm pretty sure I know who would come out on top, and it's not you, Sakura. Shut up, Kiba, yelled Sakura, I have other important duties to attend to, I can't just spend all my time training like you can. Kiba eyed Sakura for a bit, and swore that he could see a tint of red appear on Sakura's cheek when she said those words. Really? Asked Kiba, trying to get his point across, subtly since he knew that even though Sakura was not nearly as trained as he was, her punches were nothing to scoff at. They held a tremendous amount of power behind them. We're getting off subject here, said Shikamaru, and I do not want to stay here for any longer than I have to. We're talking about how the team that Naruto is on will obviously have an anchor, right? How Naruto will never amount to anything, and will just drag his team down. Yes, said Ino, that's correct. Then I'm out of here. I don't know about you guys, but I do not think that Naruto will stay like that for long. I think he will soon become one of the best genin in the village. And when he does, and he somehow finds out that we had this conversation, don't come running to me, said Shikamaru as he began walking through the tree, away from the other conspiring ninja. Me too, said Choji. If I do this, I'm no better than the bullies who called me fat behind my backs, no better than those who called me useless because of how I looked. No, I will have to agree with Shikamaru on this one. I won't talk about others behind their back. It just isn't nice, and if Naruto wouldn't do that to me, I won't do that to him. Indeed, said Shino, the argument that Choji and Shikamaru present is most logical. I do not believe we should be doing this. It is most illogical to talk about this. Good day. And with that, both Choji and Shino left the group. From high up above in the trees, Naruto grinned and jumped away, seeing as how at least 3 of the genin graduates had his back. Naruto began leaping through the trees towards the village so that he could check how his clones were doing. It was already 8 o'clock in the morning, so most of the village had already awakened from their slumber and the village was already bustling with villagers. From his perch on one of the tall poles in the middle of the village, Naruto could see that his clones were nowhere in sight, but the store light for Kazuto's shop were on, meaning that the clones that went to the forge had already arrived and were working. The same could be said about his clones that went to the library. Now the clones that went to Sarutobi could not be seen, so he had no way of determining if they actually doing their tasks or were just goofing off. Either way, Naruto would find out later. Naruto leaped off the pole and landed on the ground near Kazuto's shop. Naruto opened the door and went in and saw Kazuto at the counter. Well, if it isn't Naruto, you are the real one, right? Asked Kazuto. Yep. I just wanted to check to see if my clones are behaving and aren't causing unneeded chaos like I usually do. They are doing fine. I have one of TM forging an iron dagger from one of the iron ingots that have in my possession. The other one is keeping the flames hot, so you have nothing to worry about. They are doing well. Thank you, Kazuto-san, said Naruto bowing low. I can never thank you enough for what you have done for me. Nonsense, said Kazuto. You deserve as much of a chance as anybody. Now, I believe you should go get back to your training. I will, thanks, said Naruto as he leaped away. As he was running, he saw Ino and Sakura walking back towards their homes. Naruto smiled as the prankster enzyme in his brain began to go into overdrive. Reaching into his ninja pouch, which conveniently still had some of his old pranking materials, he dropped 2 of his dung bombs onto the 2 unsuspecting kunoichi below before taking off towards his army of clones. At the same time, he created 3 clones, each of them looking like Choji, Shino, or Shikamaru. Aiy, yelled the 2 kunoichi as Naruto landed at the training grounds that his clones were located at. Who did this? Well, muttered Naruto, no one can say that they can't scream. They can all scream DMN well. Naruto turned to his clones. Hakasudasho, yelled one of the clones as it hit its sparring partner, sending it flying into a tree. The clone then leaped into the air. Naruto smiled and joined in the fight, punching the clone that had just used his special ki attack. Come on you all, fight me. I want to have some fun too, said Naruto as he began punching the clones around. Come at me as hard as you can. Fight me until I cannot stand and you can just kick me as I roll up into a ball on the ground. Naruto began punching clones left and right, hitting them hard enough, but there was enough chakra in each clone that they could take quite a beating and not dispel. Naruto ducked underneath a punch from behind and delivered a high kick to the clone behind him, sending him flying into the air. 2 of the clones tried to get close enough to try one of the key moves on Naruto, but Naruto realized this and jumped into the and kicked them both in the head at the same time. Like hell you're going to do that to me, yelled Naruto as he landed on their heads, dispelling the 2 of them. Who's next? The army of clones charged at Naruto, who responded with multiple kicks and punches, along with dodges and head slips. Naruto felt on fire, and that he could take on the entire world if he wanted to. Right now, he was in the zone, beating up all the sparring partners he had, dealing damage out like there was no tomorrow, but receiving none in return. Suddenly, though, Naruto received an influx of information from the clones that he had delegated to going to the library. In that moment, the clones that he had been sparring against landed consecutive punches and kicks on Naruto. Water style, water encampment wall, yelled Naruto, creating a barrier around himself to protect himself from the many kicks that his clones were sending his way. Naruto pushed himself off the ground and took a deep breath. Then, without warning, Naruto let the wall drop before he charged out towards the clones again. Kicks and punches were flying from Naruto's body at the clones. Fire style, fire grenade, yelled Naruto as he formed a ball of fire in his hand before throwing it into the mass of clones surrounding him. The ball of fire that erupted from the small sphere engulfed half of the clones that Naruto was sparring with. Earth style, Earth Dome, yelled one of the clones. The clone slammed his hands onto the ground, and a dome made of hardly packed earth rose out of the ground to shield the remaining 10 clones from the blast. That won't work, yelled Naruto. Lightning style, lightning shot. Naruto made a gun with his fingers and started shooting lightning at the dome of earth. Each shot of lightning tore a hole in the dome, slowly unveiling the remaining clones to Naruto. There you are, whispered Naruto as he charged at the clones and rushed them. Naruto and his clones began trading blows. Punch to the gut, block a kick, jump over a punch, land an axe kick, and dispel a clone. Naruto did all this and more to his clones. Nothing the clones threw were able to even faze Naruto. Naruto ducked underneath a punch that a clone threw in, while at the same time deflecting the punch away. Naruto then placed his hands on the clone's chest. Hakasudasho, yelled Naruto as he blasted the clone into another clone, dispelling the 2 of them. Naruto ducked underneath one of the punches, and slammed his hand into the face of one of the other clones, and slammed the clone right into the ground, dispelling it. Naruto looked around, his body drenched in sweat, and his face haggard. Naruto took a deep breath before going back to his starting position. But soon, Naruto's eyes began to close from all the sweat that was getting into his eye. Huh, thought Naruto. It seems that I won't be able to use my eyes in this fight anymore. The sweat rolling down my face will just burn my eyes. Closing my eyes is the only solution. But without my eyes, I will not be able to see where the attacks are going to come F or dash. Suddenly, Naruto felt something coming towards the back of his head, and on instinct, Naruto ducked. Naruto turned around, kicked right where he heard the first signs of something coming at him from behind. Naruto was rewarded with the act of dispelling a clone. Deciding to trust his instincts honed from attacks on him by villagers every year on his birthday, Naruto remained still, listening for any sounds from all directions. Naruto heard the sounds of someone running towards him from his left and right, so instead of trying to attack both at the same time, Naruto stepped back and then punched the two would-be attackers where their faces would be. Naruto smiled when he felt the crunch of bones under his fists right before the two clones dispelled. "Boss," yelled one of the clones, "you've dispelled all the sparring clones. The only clones left are those who are practicing the taijutsu or chakra control." "I see," said Naruto as he relaxed before falling over. "Well then, would one of you transform into a washcloth and another one use him to wipe my face? Otherwise the sweat will get in my eyes." "Understood," yelled one of the clones as he turned into a cloth for one of the other clones to take and wipe Naruto's face. Naruto spluttered as the clone wiped his face. After he was wiped, Naruto dispelled the clone and got all the memories and experience of the clone. Deciding to try his hand at tree walking, Naruto began walking up the trunk of a tree. To his great pleasure, Naruto was able to walk up the trunk with ease, experiencing no difficulties whatsoever. "Good. This is very good," whispered Naruto. "Everyone, I want you all to start dispelling yourself. But dispel yourself in groups of 10, and there must be a 1-minute interval between each group." The clones all began to start blowing up in smoke in groups of as each minute passed. Naruto gained the experience and memories of each clone. The memories of falling off the tree as the clone tried to walk up the tree, and the memories of kicking a tree repeatedly to figure out a good pattern for using the taijutsu style. "You all did well. But I think it's time for me to go meet someone. It's time for the QB and I to have a chat, one-on-one." Naruto sat down in a cross-legged position and closed his eyes. As he did so, he could feel himself drifting from the land of the living and into darkness. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto glanced around as he appeared in his mind. The setting was merely a giant sewer. Everything was dirty, and the halls were dark. However, behind Naruto there was a heat that was not present in any of the other areas. Naruto turned around to walk in that direction. Whatever it was that was radiating the intense heat might possibly lead him to his prisoner. Naruto walked for what seemed like an eternity until he found himself standing before the largest prison cell he had ever seen. "So," said a voice, "my gracious jailer finally deems me worthy to grace me with his presence. What is it that you want from me? Why do you assume that I want anything from you? And how would I have, as you put it, grace you with my presence, if I didn't even know if you were locked away within my body?" asked Naruto as he tilted his head. "Do you think I care about that?" "All I care about is what you are doing here," growled the voice. "I merely came here to talk. But what I want is to reach an agreement. I want to reach a point where we aren't trying to kill each other. Please." "And why would I do that? I am the one who holds all the cards here. You cannot do anything without me. You need me." "I wouldn't go that far," retorted Naruto, "but if you're going to insult me, would you at least show yourself? It is rather rude to insult someone when they can't even see you. Or does the greatest of the 9 have no manners? Do not insult me. Have no manners. Please, I have more manners than your entire race of monkeys combined," growled the voice. A giant fox then stepped out of the shadows and into the light. The mouth of the fox was set into a scowl, and the eyes were sending a piercing glare right at Naruto. "You think we can reach a compromise? What could you possibly offer me that is good enough in exchange for my cooperation?" "I can offer nothing but this. I will allow you access to my senses. You are cut off from the world, right? Well, I would assume you would want to know what is going on through the world. If you have access to my senses, you will be able to see the world, hear the sounds, and smell the world. You think that is enough? You are fooling yourself, boy. I will not be so easy to win over. You will need a lot more than that if you are to win me over." Naruto sighed and looked up to the gigantic fox. "You know, I had always hoped that when you attacked Konoha, you were doing it out of a misunderstanding, like a wild beast attacking anything it sees out of rage. But it seems that is not true. You truly are a beast of carnage, a beast that knows not how to save, only to destroy. If that is all you are, you will stay here, chained up like a beast to be put down at any moment. But remember, my offer still stands. But I only will accept it if you are truly willing to work with me, and willing to try and trust me, not just to escape your shackles, said Naruto. Goodbye, Kyuubi. Until the next time we meet. And with that, Naruto's form began to glow. Soon, Naruto was becoming transparent and see-through, before Naruto disappeared from the Mindscape altogether. Just like your father, just like that man who trapped me within this useless vessel, growled the Kyuubi, you are more like him than you realize. Maybe I could work with you. Maybe, if you don't just chain me up like they did, I could work with you. Real world, Naruto awoke from his sleep-like state. Naruto sighed as he stood up. Deciding that he would pay his favorite ramen stand a visit, Naruto stood up and began jumping through the forests of Konoha. Naruto climbed up one of the trees and began jumping through the trees as he began traveling towards the stand known as Ichiraku ramen. Naruto arrived at the stand and smiled sadly at the stand. Naruto, cried Tsuchi as Naruto sat himself down at the ramen stand. How are you? Come for some ramen? Yes, please, I'll take 2 bowls of miso ramen, old man, said Naruto grinning. Only 2? Asked a girl next to Tsuchi. Are you sure you're all right? I'm sure, I am Nei-chan, said Naruto as she placed her hand on Naruto's forehead. I'm not sick. I am quite fine. I just have realized that it is not good for me to just eat ramen all the time. I need to eat foods that aren't just ramen, but that doesn't mean I can't indulge myself in ramen. Good, I wouldn't want my favorite brother to stop eating his favorite food just because it's not good for you. You should limit yourself to how much you eat, but you shouldn't just stop yourself from eating ramen, said Ayame as she placed a bowl of ramen in front of Naruto. So, how has being a genin been? Well, our Jounin-sensei are all out on a mission, so right now I am not on a team, just training so that I can catch up to the level of the rest of the class, and then go beyond. Ah, Naruto is going to become a big, badass ninja, huh? Asked Ayame as she poked Naruto in the forehead. Just don't forget about us when you become the Hokage. Now, hurry up and eat, and then go back to your training. You're going to need to do a lot of training to catch up with your peers, won't you? Of course, Nei-chan, said Naruto as he began to eat, not shoveling the food into his mouth, but eating at a calm but fast pace. But unlike usual where soup is always splashing all over the place, the soup stayed in the bowl, and the only place it went outside of the bowl was Naruto's mouth. Naruto paid the bill and after leaving the stand, Naruto ran into Ichiraku. Naruto, asked Ichiraku after staring at Naruto for a few seconds. Is that you? Ichiraku-sensei, yelled Naruto when he saw Ichiraku. What do you mean is this me? Of course it is. Who did you think I was, the Sandame? No, but you aren't wearing your usual orange jumpsuit, so I thought you were somewhere else. Where is your jumpsuit? Is this just a single outfit? No, Ichiraku-sensei, this is the clothing that I will be wearing from now on. I no longer wear the orange jumpsuit. Someone pointed out to me that it would not be good to wear on missions. Apparently, I stand out like a sore thumb, said Naruto, smiling sadly. But I also increased my strength. Oh, said Ichiraku, would you mind if I tested you? Sure, but not today. I am exhausted from all the sparring I was doing earlier today with my clones. I was on my home to rest for a little bit, and then I was going to start training with my Bakken. You were already training this morning. But I saw you come into the mission control asking for some D-rank missions to do so that you could get some extra money. How? Oh, I get it, said Ichiraku, before realizing how Naruto was in 2 places at one time. Yeah, well I'll see you, Ichiraku-sensei, said Naruto as he made his way back to his apartment. Naruto smiled as he laid down on his bed after changing into his sleepwear. Today has been a good day so far. Naruto then allowed himself to be taken from the land of the walking. Mindscape, Naruto blinked his eyes and observed his surroundings. He was back in his Mindscape, and back in front of the Kyuubi's jail. Naruto stared defiantly at the jail, waiting for the gigantic voice of the fox to come. And you're back, but not because you wanted to be here, said the voice. Naruto watched as the QB padded forward to lay down right in front of the bars. You're here because I called you here. After giving it some though, I will work with you, but I will never work for you. We will be partners. That's what I was trying to say, said Naruto. I don't want you to feel as though you have no freedom. Yes, I don't know how to release you, but I can always give you access to my senses so that you don't feel so isolated. Thank you, Naruto. But for there to be a compromise, I must offer you something to balance the deal. You have no idea who your parents are, do you? No, why? I do. Your leader, Sarutobi, does indeed know who your parents. But under the wishes of your father, he has kept them from you in case you accidentally blab it out when you are boasting. Your father was the Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze, and your mother was one of the last remaining Uzumaki, Kushina Uzumaki. What happened to them? Asked Naruto. They were both killed during my attack. Your father died because the jutsu he used to seal me involved the sacrifice of his own life. Your mother, however, she died from having me pulled out of her, which would normally kill a host, and because she got impaled on my claws. Your mother and father, however, were the best ninja of their generation. Thank you, QB. Thank you so much for this information. As I said before, it was a trade of information, nothing more, replied the fox. Now, sleep. If you fall asleep here, then you will either wake up if your body is ready, or you will continue to sleep. And with that, Naruto fell into a deep sleep. 2 days later, Naruto slowly sat up in bed. The previous day had been spent practicing his new techniques, his barrier techniques. He had gotten distracted by them all of yesterday that Naruto had totally spaced on something that he had needed to do. Naruto wanted to continue on it, but there was something he had to do first. He needed to confront the Sandaime about his parents. Naruto slowly dressed himself and left his apartment with only his ninja pouch. Naruto jumped through the rooftops, his eyes staring intently at the place where he knew he would be able to get answers. Hokage Tower, the tall red building with the symbol for fire clearly painted on the building. Naruto arrived at the building, but instead of going in like a normal person, Naruto decided that he would do a way that would allow him to escape the gaze of anyone who might recognize him. Use the window. Naruto landed on the windowsill and saw Sarutobi working on his paperwork with 3 other clones. Using his kunai, Naruto opened up the window and jumped into the office. "Gigi!" cried Naruto as he walked around Sarutobi's desk and came face to face with his grandfather figure. Sarutobi smiled at Naruto. "Hello, Naruto, what can I do for you?" asked Sarutobi. "Is something wrong?" "Gigi, I know about my parents," said Naruto bluntly. "How?" asked Sarutobi. "You know of your parents. Who told you?" "The QB told me. I know that my parents are the Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze, and Kushina Uzumaki. I also know that they told you not to tell me until I either reached Chunin or the age of 18, so there is no reason for me to hold a grudge." "Thank you, my dear boy. I don't think I could take it if you hated me," said a smiling Sarutobi as he let out a sigh of relief. "But you are right, it is time you learned some of what your family was. And seeing as how you already have knowledge of your parents, I might as well show you the truth. Come with me," said Sarutobi, standing and going to the same place where he had retrieved the fighting-style scrolls for Naruto. Naruto and Sarutobi walked into the vault. As Naruto looked around, he was amazed. There were shelves upon shelves filled with scrolls, books, and relics. Naruto was even able to recognize some of the relics like the headband of the Nidaime Hokage and the armor of the Shodaime Hokage. But instead of stopping at these scrolls, Sarutobi continued on his way all the way to the back. Right there were 3 altars. "What is this?" asked Naruto as he looked at the 3 altars. Above each altar was the symbol of a clan. The one on the left was the symbol of the Uchiha, on the right was the symbol of the Senju, and in the middle was the symbol that he had seen on the back of so many Konoha flak jackets. These, Naruto, are the altars that hold the history and members of each of the founding clans of Konoha. Everyone knows of the Uchiha and the Senju, but not many know of the Uzumaki. The Uzumaki are a branch of the Senju, and were staunch allies of Konoha, and provided their support in founding the village. In addition, 2 wives of the Hokage have been from the Uchiha clan. One of them was my mother, right? Correct, Naruto. But that was not the original reason that they were brought here to Konoha. Naruto, you are not the first host of the QB, but you are the first to have your host status known to the general public. The QB has been with us since the beginning. It was first sealed into Mitodano, the wife of the Shodame, and then later sealed into your mother. What is unclear to us is how the QB got free. You see, the only time a seal weakens is when the host is giving BRH. Somehow, it got free, and your father was forced to seal into you at the cost of his own life. So both mom and the wife of the Shodame hosted the QB? Asked Naruto. Yes, they did. And since Mito was your mother's grandmother, that makes you part Senju as well. Now, Naruto, said Sarutobi as he opened the scroll, I want you to cut your thumb and begin inscribing your name on this scroll. The place I am about to take is tied to this scroll, and you will only be allowed into the area if your name is on the scroll. What about you, Gigi? Asked Naruto as he bit his thumb and began writing. Since I'm the Hokage, as long as I don't take anything from the area, I am allowed into the area, replied Sarutobi. After Naruto finished up writing, Sarutobi rolled the scroll back up. Now, I have one other gift for you that your parents wanted you to have. Sarutobi grabbed the katana that was held over the altar of the Uzumaki. This katana was forged by your mother, using techniques known only to the Uzumaki. It served her well and should serve you well. Thank you, Gigi, whispered Naruto as he took the katana from Sarutobi and put it in his sash. Now, let's get going, said Sarutobi, leaving the vault with Naruto, before sealing it back up again. Now take my hand. As soon as Naruto had grabbed onto Sarutobi's hand, they disappeared into a cloud of smoke. The two shinobi reappeared in front of a giant estate. Its beauty entranced Naruto. The house was a big but not too big. The roof was midnight blue with red outline. The actual building was a dull red with black doors. Naruto walked forwards reverently before he realized there was a gate in between him and the house. Naruto, place the thumb that you cut onto the middle section of the gate, commanded Sarutobi. That will open the gates for you and the estate. Naruto nodded and pressed his thumb against the middle section of the gate. The gate glowed blue before swinging open for both Naruto and Sarutobi. Naruto walked through at Sarutobi's side and into the house. However, waiting for Naruto in the house was something very unusual, a sword that was stuck in slab of ice. Gigi, what is that? Asked Naruto, pointing to the icy blue blade that was frozen in ice. Ah, that is Frostborn, an ancient sword of the Namikaze clan. The Namikaze were once known as the Reaper of Souls due to that sword. Whenever it killed a person, the sword would absorb their soul, and they would eventually be able to use a new type of chakra, soul chakra. Although, I did hear that the process to being able to use that chakra is quite painful. How painful? Excruciatingly painful, replied Sarutobi, but you don't have to worry about that. If you wish, you can try to claim Frostborn as your blade, but be wary, if you do not pass the test, you will never be allowed to try again. Then I'll do it now, said Naruto, might as well get this over with. Now come, Frostborn, test me, and tell me if I am not ready to wield you. Naruto grabbed onto the handle of the sword with both hands and flared his chakra. In response, the ice surrounding the blade spread around Naruto, encasing him. And now, the trial begins, whispered Sarutobi. I can only hope that you survive the trial. Naruto reappeared in his Mindscape in front of the cage with the QB. Naruto looked around and saw that the fox was not present at the moment. Then suddenly, a man wearing bulky armor and a helmet and holding the sword that Naruto was currently holding onto in the real world. Frostborn. Who are you? Yelled Naruto. I am the Lich King. I am the original wielder of this sword, the progenitor of the Namikaze clan. I am your ancestor, and I will test your will to win, your will to survive. Those qualities are what defines the wielders of Frostborn. Soul style, icy tundra. The Lich King stabbed the word into the ground, and ice began to spread out across the floor. Fire style, firewall, yelled Naruto, spewing flames from his mouth to keep the ice at bay. Naruto then jumped over the fire and brandished his sword. Even if he wasn't much of a swordsman yet, he would be able to use it to block any attacks on his life by the Frostborn. Naruto swung the edge of his blade at the Lich King's head, but Frostborn blocked it. Naruto continued his attack on the Lich King, not giving up hope. Naruto jumped into the air and threw 4 smoke bombs to obscure the vision of the Lich King while sheathing his katana. Good, use your abilities to your advantage, coached the Lich King. Don't try to do something that you can't do. Do what you can. Naruto narrowed his eyes and sent 3 kunai with tags on the ends. Naruto then began to weave hand seals. Kekai, trigram jutsu. When the smoke cleared, the Lich King was trapped in a triangle made of chakra. Naruto then threw another 5 kunai with tags and started weaving another set of seals. Kekai, 2-layer barrier, trigram plug pentagon. A pentagon barrier trapped the Lich King in the triangle barrier. Now, shadow clone jutsu. 2 clones appeared next to Naruto. Each of them did their own seals. Wind style, great breakthrough. Wind style, wind bullet. Fire style, great fireball jutsu. Naruto and his clones each fired their own jutsu at the Lich King, engulfing him in a great big explosion of fire. Naruto drew 2 kunai to prepare for the next act to happen. The smoke was then blown away and the Lich King stood there, unharmed. Good, good, very good, said the Lich King. Come here, my descendant, and allow me to give you the Frostborn, for it is now yours to wield. Naruto put away 1 kunai, but kept 1 at the ready, in case this was a trick. As soon as he was in front of the Lich King jabbed the sword into the ground. If you can take this blade out of the ground, then you may wield it. Naruto nodded, knowing that if this was the last task, it would not be an easy one. Naruto firmly grasped the blade and began to pull the sword out with as much force as he could muster. Shing, the blade then swung free out of the ground and into the air. Naruto had to take a few steps back to steady himself. The hilt was made of gray metal, which continued up until the guard. The guard was black metal. At that point, the blade started to turn into an icy blue, thinning down from a little wide to a thin point. Near the base of the blade, there were a few runes etched onto the blade. Naruto stared at the Jian blade in awe. It was a truly appealing blade. Now go, said the Lich King, you are the emperor of the blade. But be warned, within a few months, Cammy will be coming to see you. We, the Reapers of Souls, were once her servants when my descendants could still wield Frostborn. We would collect souls for her, and the souls of any people that should go to hell would be given to her sister, Yami. Cammy will take the souls of anyone who was noble in their lives. Remember that. Now, go and bring fear into your enemies and hope into your allies. I will, ancestor, said Naruto as he bowed his head. Naruto then began to dissolve into thin air. The Lich King then strode towards the cage of the Kyuubi and banged his hand on the bars. The Kyuubi padded forwards towards the Lich King. What do you want, human? I want to know something, Kyuubi. Are you truly willing to help my descendant in all that he does, no matter what? Will you stand by him at both his high points and his low points? I will. Then I don't have a problem, said the Lich King before he disappeared. The only thing remaining was a replica of the Frostborn. Real world, Sarutobi watched Naruto as he read one of his favorite books that was not Ika Ika, The Tale of a Gusty Ninja, the very first book written by the author of Ika Ika. Suddenly, the ice that had encased Naruto began to crack, and little by little, it started to fall away before Naruto was free, and holding the Frostborn in his hand. Hey Gigi, said Naruto as he rested Frostborn on his shoulder. Looks like I passed the trial. How are you doing? Great, Naruto, and I see that you passed the trial. Congratulations. I am very proud of you. Now, this is your place, but I'll still allow you to keep your apartment so that you can keep up the appearance that you still live in that apartment, since you know that the council doesn't want you to know anything about your inheritance. I would also recommend you either keep Frostborn here or keep it in a scroll so you don't dash. No, Gigi, I will wear it with pride. It is an heirloom of my clan, and I will not cower and be afraid of the council simply because they want what is mine. Very well. Then wear it with pride, said Sarutobi. I'll leave you to explore and continued your training. Naruto bowed to Sarutobi as the Sandaime disappeared. Naruto turned to go outside and start training in the training grounds. Naruto also closed the gates and reactivated the seal, closing the house off from any unwanted visitors. 2 months later, Naruto smiled as he walked towards the academy. It had been a long 2 months since Naruto had begun his intensive training regimen to get himself up to speed with the other genin. The weight seals on his clothing had been increased to 100 pounds per limb. The weight had given Naruto a hard time for the first few days, but now he was able to move with the weight like there was nothing to slow him down. Naruto had his normal attire on, which consisted of a white long-sleeve shirt tucked into black breaths, which were held up by a dark orange sash. Tucked within the sash was a long black bakken, and to complete his outfit, tied around his left bicep was his ninja headband, the metal forehead protector placed on orange cloth. The major noticeable difference was the glowing blue gems strapped to his back, which was slipped through some leather bindings, but was not in its own sheath. "Hey," whispered a girl from a younger year in the academy, "look at that hottie. Do you know which class he is in?" "Shoo," hushed another girl, "look at his arm, he has a headband. That means he has just graduated from the academy. He is probably part of the class that graduated a few months ago, but their Jounin sensei weren't in the village at the moment, so they had to wait for them. That what he's here for?" Naruto smiled as he overheard the conversation before he entered the academy. Naruto walked up to his old classroom, but he could feel all the memories of his time at the academy assaulting him. Naruto smiled sadly before he entered the classroom. Everyone stared at him in shock and started whispering, trying to figure out who it was. Naruto slowly walked over to where Shino was sitting and took a seat beside him. "Naruto-san, you have never sat next to me once in all the years that we have attended this academy by choice. Why do you do so now?" "Is that a problem?" asked Naruto. "I just thought that having more friendships would be beneficial. And this is a way to pay you back." "For what?" "I have never done anything for you," replied Shino. "In the forest, when Sakura called the entirety of our graduating class together to talk about how useless I am, you, Shikamaru, and Choji were the only ones to stick up for me and not participate. I want to try and thank you by being your friend." "You know about that?" asked Shino. "My Kikai did not sense you in the area. Where were you?" "I was up in the trees above you. And I also saw Kiba running through the forest, so I decided to follow, and that was what I found when I arrived. So, again, thank you for sticking up me." "Thanks it not necessary, Naruto-san. I only did what was logical. What Sakura-san was suggesting was most illogical. We should not be holding a meeting because of a weak member that a majority of our class hates due to our parents' views on you. You are merely misunderstood." "You could see that?" asked Naruto. "My entire clan can see that, and I'm willing to bet most of the other shinobi clans can see that as well. You are not alone in this world. You may believe that you are alone in this world, but that is not true. You are never alone, for within Konoha, there is always someone who is willing to give you aid." "All right, everyone," yelled Ichiraku as he got to the front of the class. "It's time for you all to learn who exactly is going to be your Jounin sensei, and then they will have a little team bonding for you to do. Now, Team 1, you will be with Genma Shiranui. Team 2, you will be with Team 7, you will be with Kakashi Hatake." Naruto's eyes narrowed, remembering the name from his father's journal. Apparently, he had been on time and followed the ninja book to the letter until an accident occurred during the Third Great Shinobi War. Following that, he began spending an incredible amount of time at the Memorial Stone. Team 8, you will be with Kurenai Yuhi, and since Team 9 is still in circulation, the next one is Team 10, which will be led by Asuma Sarutobi. "Sensei," said Sakura, "what do you mean by team bonding?" "I'll leave that to your Jounin sensei," said Ichiraku, winking at Sakura before taking his leave. "I hope to see you sometime in the mission hall." Later. As soon as he left, a bunch of Jounin began filing into the classroom and taking their respective teams with them. However, one team was left behind in the classroom, Team 7. After waiting a few minutes, Naruto got up and began swinging his bakken. Said Sasuke. Naruto glanced at Sasuke with raised eyebrows, having already guessed what Sasuke wanted. Sasuke asked Naruto, "Is there something that I can do for you?" "Yes," yelled Sasuke, "I want you to give me that sword on your back. A clanless idiot like you doesn't deserve it. Now give it here." "A clanless idiot? I don't deserve it." Fine, if you can even pick it up, I will allow you to use it, said Naruto, stabbing Frostborn into the ground. Naruto, yelled Frostborn, what are you doing? If you don't want him to touch you, just freeze his hand, thought Naruto back at his sword. I know you can do that. Fine, but because of this bet, you must do an extra hour of training with me, said Frostborn as Sasuke approached the blade. Slowly, Sasuke grasped the handle of the blade and he smiled. He was about to pull the blade out of the floor when a tingling feeling started to run up his arm. Sasuke immediately jumped back, pulling his hand off the handle, but he was too late. Ice had already begun to form on his hand and was rapidly spreading. Naruto-baka, yelled Sakura, stop whatever it is you are doing to Sasuke-kun and allow him to take your sword. I'm not doing anything, replied Naruto. It's the sword, Frostborn, who is doing something. Frostborn is a sentient blade, and only those chosen by the blade are allowed to touch him. You all can try, but I assure you that the same result will occur. Only I, Frostborn's chosen wielder, can hold him and not get frozen. Fine, but can you at least let him go? Asked Sakura in an attempt to save her crush. I will, said Naruto, making Sakura smile in happiness, but only if Sasuke is willing to apologize to me for calling me a clanless loser. I do in fact have my own clan, even if they are all dead, and I will not just let that insult go unanswered. Sakura turned to Sasuke, expecting him to accept Naruto's demands, as they were not much. Never, growled Sasuke, I will never apologize for what I have said. It's not like it isn't true. You do not have a family, nor will you ever have one. Fine, said Naruto, you can just go about your day with that disability. It's not like I care what actually happens to you. It would just be a shame that you'll have to do our team bonding with only one hand, and that hand just happens to be your non-DMNT hand. What a shame. Naruto shook his head like he was sad about what had happened. Naruto then grabbed Frostborn and put him back in the metal sheath on his back. Well, since we have nothing to do, would either of you like to spar with me? I would, growled Sasuke, but you are not allowed to use that glowing blue sword of yours, got it? Fine with me, Sasuke-chan, said Naruto, trying to get a rise out of Sasuke. We can spar in the courtyard where we have always sparred before. Sakura-san, do you want to ride or would you prefer to walk down? What do you mean? Well, I was going to jump out the window into the courtyard, but if you would prefer walking down with Sasuke, that's fine. I'll walk down with Sasuke, Naruto-baka, yelled Sakura as she latched onto Sasuke's arm and began pulling him out of the classroom and down towards the courtyard. Naruto shrugged and walked over to the window and opened it, before jumping down to the courtyard. Naruto jabbed both his Bakken and Frostborn into the ground, and sat down to begin his meditation in preparation for the fight. After a few minutes, Naruto snapped his eyes open just as Sasuke arrived at the courtyard. I see you're ready, Sasuke team. Now, are you ready to get your butt handed to you? Asked Naruto as he got up and settled into the beginning stance for his fighting style. Sasuke said nothing, choosing instead to analyze Naruto. The Naruto standing before him was a different person than the one he had beaten multiple times during their times in the academy. While that Naruto would use a brawler-type fighting style, this Naruto had a clear fighting style and looked like he actually knew what he was doing. Sakura, would you mind refereeing the match for us? Asked Sasuke. For you, Sasuke-kun. This match will be between Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke. Any taijutsu, genjutsu, ninjutsu are allowed. Anything but killing strikes or fatal blows are allowed. Start. Naruto and Sasuke blurred into action, both racing across the field. As he ran, Naruto thought that Sasuke was moving a bit sluggish. Naruto pushed the thought away, thinking that Sasuke was just rusty from 2 months of not as hard of practice as he usually did. Naruto ducked under Sasuke's first punch and pushed away the second punch, before he was able to get right Sasuke's face before push his palm upwards, right into Sasuke's chin, which sent Sasuke flying into the air. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he looked at Sasuke, trying to figure out what would be the perfect strategy to defeat Sasuke. In the end, Naruto decided to use the same strategy he had used on the Lich King. After attaching tags to 3 of his kunai, Naruto threw the kunai in a triangle formation around Sasuke. Naruto then began forming seals at a rapid pace before landing on the bird hand seal. Kekai, trigram jutsu, yelled Naruto as the tags on the kunai began to glow before beams rocketed from the tags to touch the other two tags, creating a barrier. Sasuke tried to move his legs, but he was unable to do so. "What did you do?" yelled Sasuke. "Nothing much. I merely created a barrier using my sealing tags so that you would not be able to move. This is where battle becomes scary, where you cannot do anything, where you are utterly helpless." "How does it feel, Sasuke?" asked Naruto as he grabbed his bakken from where it was stabbed into the ground. "Now, feel terror, Sasuke. He-ten Mitsurugi style, Doryusen." Naruto used the very first technique that he had learned from the sword style that he had been learning. Sasuke stared in fear as the attack was about to hit him before a voice interrupted the fight. "Earth style, mud wall." A wall of earth rose out of the ground and interrupted the attack. Naruto turned to see a silver-haired man reading an orange book. Naruto smirked, knowing exactly who that was. Naruto turned to grab Frostborn and sheathed his sword and bakken in their appropriate places. "Are you going to greet us, Kakashi-sensei, or do we have to come to you?" asked Naruto, looking up at the Jounin. Don't go spoiling who I am, Naruto," said Kakashi, "but now that you mention it, I really don't want to jump or walk down to the courtyard. So yeah, you guys are going to have to walk up to me." Naruto nodded his acknowledgement and began the walk up the stairs to the roof of the academy building. But right before he started walking, he made a hand seal and whispered a single word. "Kai." With that, the barrier surrounding Sasuke vanished. Naruto then walked over to Sasuke and tapped his frozen hand, making the ice break. Naruto then continued walking up into the building with Sakura and Sasuke following him close behind. "Academy rooftop, alright," said Kakashi as he leaned against the railings. "It is time for us to officially meet each other. My name is Kakashi Hatake. My likes are dogs, my books, and being lazy. My dislikes are paperwork and anything that has to do with doing works. My hobby is reading. My dream is none of your business. Now, Pinky, you do the same just like how I did it." "Fine," growled Sakura as she glared at Kakashi for the nickname that he had given her. "My name is Sakura Haruno. My likes are, my hobbies are, my dream is," squealed Sakura as she continued to look over at Sasuke. Meanwhile, Kakashi was mentally slapping his face. "And your dislikes?" asked Kakashi, already dreading the answer. "Inobunta and Narutobaka." "Why me?" thought Kakashi. "Why couldn't Kurinai take the DMN fangirl? I hate it when I have to deal with these types. They don't do jack squat on their own. The only training they do is when they are with the team. I don't need that." "My turn," said Naruto, shaking Kakashi out of his reverie. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. My likes are training, eating ramen, forging, and learning kekai jutsu. My dislikes are the 3 minutes it takes for ramen to heat up, people who can't see that a scroll is not the kunai sealed in it, and arrogant bestiards. My hobbies are training, learning kekai jutsu, and pranking. My dream is to become Hokage, and become a ninja my clan would have been proud of." "What clan?" asked Sakura. "You don't have a clan. Just because my clan is no longer among the living does not mean they did not exist," growled Naruto. Alright, everyone calm down," said Kakashi in a placating manner. "And you, Mr. Broody, would you please tell us about yourself?" "I am Sasuke Uchiha. I have no likes, I have no dislikes, and I have no hobbies. While I have no dream, I have an ambition, and that is to kill a certain man and revive my clan." Naruto stared at Sasuke with indifference. "Okay," said Kakashi, "since everyone has been acquainted, it is now time to move on to the final portion of your genin exam." "But we're already genin," protested Sakura. "You can't do this to us." "I can and I will. Now follow me." Kakashi jumped off the rooftop onto another one, and kept on going on towards the training grounds. Naruto followed closely, who was being tailed by Sasuke, and even further back was Sakura. Finally, after a few minutes of travel, the group landed in a training ground. "Where are we?" asked Sakura. "Welcome to my personal training ground. Your final genin test is simple," said Kakashi, holding up 2 bells. Take these bells from me using whatever methods necessary, and come at me with the intent to kill. If you do not, then you will never be able to get the bells from me. And whoever does not get a bell from me will have to go without lunch, and he or she will be sent back to the academy. But there are only 2 bells, said Sakura. Yeah, which means I'll only have to work with 2 of you brats instead of 3. Thank you for pointing that out, Pinky. Now, we will begin the exam, and like I said earlier, come at me with the intent to kill. But Kakashi-sensei, if we do that, then you could get hurt, protested Sakura. Naruto snickered a bit when he heard that, but Kakashi just smiled at Sakura. Sakura, if you are really able to damage me that much, then I do not deserve to have the title of Jounin. If 3 genin fresh out of the academy can injure me that much, I would be a disgrace to what it means to be a Jounin. Now, start. All 3 genin jumped away as soon as Kakashi said those words, signaling the beginning of the exam. Naruto sat on a tree and observed Kakashi's position. Naruto opened up his ninja pouch and took out his seal paper holder attached to sash. Naruto opened up the holder and took out 5 tags. Naruto jumped down and created a clone. So, the smart one makes his appearance, said Kakashi. Now what are you going to do? Attack me head-on. Actually yes, replied Naruto. Now water style, quick stream jutsu. Naruto started spewing water out his mouth and it went right at Kakashi, who didn't even bother to dodge. He just stood there, letting the stream go by his feet while he read his book. That's it? Asked Kakashi. Is that all you can do? No, that's not it. Lightning style, lightning arc, yelled Naruto's clone as he placed his hand in the water and sent lightning through, electrocuting Kakashi. Kakashi's eyes widened as lightning began to run up his body, shocking him and his internal organs. Kakashi slowly reached inside his ninja pouch and dropped a bomb, which let out an explosion, sending Naruto away from the stream of water. Kakashi breathed a sigh of relief and was about to take out his book when he felt something touch his neck. Kakashi ducked down and rolled away before turning around and yelling, "Fire style, fire stream jutsu." Naruto realized how dangerous the flames were and jumped away, disappearing into the trees and away from Kakashi's sight. With Naruto glanced at the tags that he held in his hand. These tags were essential to making his very best defensive barrier. Naruto leaped away and began his search for Sasuke and Sakura. It was time they learned the true meaning of this test. As he ran through the forest, Naruto could see a huge ball of fire appear to the west. Probably Sasuke, muttered Naruto, and since that is where Kakashi is, I should probably look elsewhere for Sakura. How do I find her? Flashback, now nerdo, said Ichiraku, I want to teach you a very useful technique. This technique is mainly used by sensors, but anyone can use it. It is called the chakra pulse. How do you do it? Asked Naruto as he watched Ichiraku closely. If only sensors use it, then why would I use it? Because there will come a time where you need to find someone, and this will allow you to find anyone. Now, the first step is to compress your chakra in your body. Then, after you have let it build up, you let it out in one big wave. Anything that the wave touches will be transmitted to your brain, and you will immediately know where a person is. Try it. Naruto nodded and began channeling his chakra. Soon his body had begun to glow blue with chakra. Naruto then released his hold on his chakra and it exploded outwards. Naruto was dazzled by what he could see. He could see the birds in the tree behind him, the students in the academy, and the one kid who was flipping off his parent from behind the parent's back. Ichiraku-sensei, this is incredible. It is. Now you will always be able to find your team if you get lost, said Ichiraku, and flashback Naruto began to charge up his chakra within his body for a few seconds before he let it out in a wave. Naruto was able to see that Sakura was heading towards where the fire was. She probably thought that Sasuke was there, and she wasn't wrong. He was indeed in that direction, but Sasuke wasn't moving at all. Naruto began laughing at Sasuke's situation. He was stuck in the ground from Kakashi's jutsu. Naruto began leaping through the trees to intercept Sakura. However, when he heard a scream, he knew something was up. Altering his course, Naruto angled towards where the scream had originated. Naruto began laughing when he saw Sakura. Apparently, Kakashi had put her in a genjutsu, and was showing her the worst possible dream that she could have. "Sasuke-kun, let me pull out the kunai for you," screamed Sasuke. Naruto shook his head in disgust and slapped his hand onto Sakura's back before channeling his chakra through her to disrupt the illusion. Suddenly, Sakura's eyes snapped wide open and she saw Naruto had his hand on her back. "Naruto baka," yelled Sakura as she tried to punch Naruto, but Naruto was able to deflect her fist and move out of the way. Whoa, clam down, Sakura. I was just disrupting the genjutsu that had been placed on you by Kakashi-sensei. Very good, said a voice. Naruto and Sakura leaped back as Kakashi dropped down from the trees. You are very smart, figuring that out based on guessing. Well, it's not like anything bad would have happened to Sakura if you had done that while she wasn't in a genjutsu. But enough chit-chat, fire style, fireball jutsu. A gigantic ball of fire began racing at Naruto and Sakura. Naruto widened his eyes and pulled Sakura behind and threw 5 tags into the air, which were floating in the air by the chakra that was in the tags. As soon as they took their proper places, Naruto began running through hand seals before landing on the rat seal. Fuinjutsu, Kekai Jutsu, Barrier of the 4 Sea Gods, 5-star barrier, yelled as he created a barrier in the shape of the stars with a circle connecting all the points. The fire hit the barrier and flew out to the sides of the barrier, but Naruto kept up his chakra and concentration to keep the barrier intact. Sakura, can you grab 2 of the tags from my tag carrier? Asked Naruto. Sakura nodded and grabbed 2 of them. Got them, now what? Throw them in the air. I'll take care of the rest. Sakura nodded and threw the 2 slips into the air. Naruto let go of the seal, keeping only one hand in a half-tiger seal to keep up the chakra flow before pointing at the 2 slips of paper. Fuinjutsu, Swallow WHPS. The 2 pieces of paper began to glow before taking the forms of small birds and flew right at Kakashi and slashed him on the cheeks. The sudden momentary disruption of concentration made the fireball disintegrate. As Kakashi began to gather his bearings, Naruto grabbed Sakura and jumped into the trees while dropping a smoke bomb to obscure their escape. Naruto flared his chakra again to get a sense of where Kakashi was. At the moment, he had not left his location and was just casually reading again. What was that, Naruto? Asked Sakura. What was what? You know, that barrier and the swallow WHPS. I've never heard of those jutsu before. That's because they are my clan's barrier jutsu. Well, the swallow WHPS really isn't a barrier, but my clan didn't know what to classify it under, so they just classed it as a kekai jutsu. But anyways, we need to get to Sasuke if we're going to stand a chance of getting those bells. Now come on. Naruto started jumping through the trees towards Sasuke's post-Ion, who was still stuck in the ground. After traveling for a few minutes, Naruto found Sasuke, with only his head above ground. Sasuke-kun, yelled Sakura as she ran over to her crush and began to start chipping away at the ground with her kunai. Sakura, you're not going to make any significant progress if you do that. Stand back. Now, this may hurt a little, Sasuke, but please bear with me. Earth style, breaking earth. Naruto punched the ground, and the ground around Sasuke began to crack and fall away. Naruto grabbed Sasuke by the hair and pulled him out of the hole, and threw him over to where Sakura was waiting. Naruto, yelled Sakura, you didn't have to be so rough. Yeah, well, he's a big boy, he can handle it. Now, we need to talk about how we're going to pass this exam. What are you talking about? All we have to do is take the bells away from him. And how do you propose we do that, huh? Just march over there and he'll let us take the bells. No, you smartass, he won't let us do that. We have to distract him while one of us steals the bells. Sakura, since you have the least fighting ability, you will be the one to steal the bells. What do you mean I have the least fighting ability? Growled Sakura. Sakura, you fell to a low-level genjutsu, deadpanned Naruto. I don't want a chance of that happening again. Sasuke, can you do the fire jutsu that created that big fire earlier again? And how many more times can you do it? I can probably do it 2 more times if I only put half my remaining chakra into each try. But they will only be about 3/4 the size of the one you saw earlier. That is fine. I will power it up with my wind jutsu. But us 2 are going to attack last. My clones will be the primary distraction, said Naruto as he summoned 3 clones, two of which were hinged into Sasuke and Sakura. Naruto threw Frostborn, who could not be replicated, to the clone and nodded. Clones, you will go attack Kakashi as a united team. Sasuke and Sakura clones, no jutsu unless you know a jutsu that the person you are hinged into knows. So basically, for Sasuke, it's the Grand Fireball Jutsu, while Sakura has none. Now go. The three clones leaped away. Naruto then created another clone. Sakura, you will follow this clone. He will lead you towards Kakashi, behind him, and a place where he will not be able to sense you while he is fighting my clones. Come, Sasuke, we have a jounin to distract. The three genin leaped away, each knowing what their specific job was. Naruto, why are you working with us? We hate your guts and you hate ours. How can you work so well with us when you know that? Naruto remained silent for a few seconds and took a deep breath before he opened his mouth to answer. The answer is simple. I do hate your guts, but passing this exam is a higher priority than making you feel like CRP. Even if I want to do that, I want to pass this exam more, so obviously I will help us pass the exam. But why do you need us? From what I've seen of your new power, you're much more powerful than us. Surely you can do it on your own. It is a possibility, yes, but that is not the true purpose of this exam, Sasuke. The true purpose of this exam is not test how powerful we are, but whether we can work together as a team. That is the true test. How? Well, that is logic. Kakashi said that one person will be sent back to the academy. If they fail, but never in the history of Konoha has there been a three-man genin team with only two genin. No, every single genin team in history has always had three genin and one jounin sensei. Based on that reasoning, he developed this test to make us get mad at each other and try to ensure that we would not work together. After that, the two genin did not talk to each other. Soon, they landed in a tree, where there was an open clearing, in which Kakashi was just standing and reading his book. Discreetly, Naruto took out another 4 tags and threw them onto 4 different trees with Kakashi knowing. That was when the 3 clones made their appearance, landing in front of Kakashi. Kekai Jutsu, Barrier Sphere, yelled the Naruto clone. The 4 tags glowed golden and encompassed the entire area. Sasuke now. Fire Style, Grand Fireball Jutsu. The Sasuke clone breathed in before letting out a gigantic ball of fire. Wind Style, Great Breakthrough, yelled the Naruto clone, increasing the firepower of Sasuke's attack, and also increasing the speed at which the fire flew at Kakashi. Kakashi widened in surprise and jumped out of the way, not noticing someone jump out from behind him, and then disappear. The clones then charged at Kakashi, and began attacking him with a unified force, one only seen in people who fully trusted each other, and Kakashi knew that Sasuke, Sakura and Naruto did not fully trust each other. Why don't you come on out now? Asked Kakashi. Naruto signaled for Sasuke to stay where they are and jumped down into the clearing. Naruto took Frostborn from his clone and shouldered the blade. You figured it out, Kakashi-sensei. Is it because of the teamwork that was displayed by my clones? Yes, their teamwork was too good. That can only be displayed after a person is willing to put his or her life in the hands of their ally, and I know that you, Sakura, and Sasuke have not reached that level of trust. Now, come, Naruto, I wish to see what a whole 2 months' worth of training did for you. How much stronger have you become? I want to see it, Naruto, yelled Kakashi. With pleasure, growled Naruto as he charged at Kakashi with Frostborn in hand, reading to hack through Kakashi. Kakashi armed himself with 2 kunai and ran at Naruto. 2 armored, but light gauntlets appeared on Naruto's arms as he swung the blade with all his might right at Kakashi and cleaved through the 2 kunai. Naruto jumped back, before he noticed the gauntlets. Naruto recognized them as being similar to the gauntlets that were worn by the Lich King. Thanks, grandfather, said Naruto before he slammed the sword into the ground. Soul Style, Icy Tundra, yelled Naruto. Ice spread from his sword and towards where Kakashi was standing. Fire Style, Fire Stream Jutsu, yelled Kakashi as he began spewing flames from his mouth towards the ice that was approaching him, but he could not stop the ice, so he leaped into the air. Kakashi-sensei, peekaboo, said Naruto from behind Kakashi as he swung the blade in an upwards diagonal arc. Blood squirted from the wounds that he had endured. Soul style, soul slash, yelled Naruto as he swung his sword, sending an arc of blue energy at Kakashi, knocking him down towards the ground. Now Sasuke. Fire style, fireball jutsu, yelled both Sasuke and the Sasuke clone. Wind style, great breakthrough jutsu, yelled both the Naruto and the Sakura clone, sending wind at both fireball, increasing their speed and strength, engulfing Kakashi as he fell to the ground. Naruto approached the body of Kakashi before it disappeared in a cloud of smoke, revealing it to be a shadow clone. Clap clap clap. Naruto and Sasuke turned to see where Kakashi was standing clapping. Very good, Naruto, Sasuke, and yes, even you Sakura, so you can come out. The pink head dropped down out of the trees and landed next to Naruto and Sasuke. You three have done exceptionally well and displayed incredible teamwork. There is no reason to send any of you back to the academy. As of right now, you have all passed my exam. Congratulations. All three genin leaped in joy. That being said, all of you could use some extra training, especially you, Sakura. So be ready for some harsh training in the days to come. Yes, sir. You are dismissed. Naruto, I want a word with you, said Kakashi. Naruto, meet us at the Yakinu's grill. All of us who passed are celebrating our final test. Well, originally it was going to be all of us who finished the team bonding exercise, but since it was a genin test, it is all of us who passed. Okay, said Naruto, not sure if he would be join them based on how he had been treated for the past few years. He may be able to forgive, but he would never forget. Sasuke and Sakura left the area, intent on going to the celebration. Well, it was more like Sasuke being forced to go than wanting to go. Naruto stayed behind with Sasuke to discuss something else. Naruto, I assume that you know of your heritages since you have that sword, and that you know who I am, said Kakashi. Naruto slowly nodded. Well, there is something else that I need to tell you. It is a secret that they entrusted to me. They did not know if their house would ever be breached after they died, so they left one of the keys to your inheritance with me, not telling even the Hokage. The secret is your bloodline. Bloodline? Asked Naruto. Yes. You may not know it, but the Uzumaki clan had their own bloodline. While the Namikes were called the Reaper of Souls, the Uzumaki were called the Storm Demons. At their peak, an Uzumaki fully trained in the use of their bloodline would be able to call up a storm on the sunniest of days. However, what, Kakashi-sensei? Asked Naruto. There is only one way to unlock the bloodline, and that is through battle. I'm not talking about sparring. I am talking about a battle for your life. And you will most likely not be in one until you later genin or early chunin years. I'm sorry, but you will not be able to use your Uzumaki bloodline for some time. That is fine. I don't care, I'm just glad that I have one. It's nice to know that, said Naruto as he left the clear. Before he left, Naruto stabbed Frostborn back into the ground and absorbed the ice from the ground. Naruto then sheathed the sword and began to make his way back to his apartment. However, after arriving at his apartment, Naruto decided that he would go to that celebration. Naruto stabbed Frostborn into the floor of his apartment, and then ice formed around Frostborn so that no one could steal it. Naruto then placed his Bakken next to his other Bakken that he had bought and left after increasing his weights to 150 pounds on each limb. Naruto smiled sadly as he entered the Yakinu's grill. As soon as he had entered, Naruto could see Sakura waving him over. Naruto walked over to the table that the others were sitting at. But because as he walked, he felt like everyone in the restaurant was watching him, the walk felt agonizingly slow. Naruto then sat down next to Sasuke, who had declared the seat to be reserved for Naruto. What is he doing here? Asked Kiba. Why is he here? Who invited him? I did, Kiba, got a problem with it. Asked Sakura as she began cracking her knuckles. Naruto is the reason that we passed the exam of Kakashi's. Did you know that we are his first team to get passed ever? Wait, what? Your sensei had never passed a team before you, and the dobe is the one who gets you guys passed. How lame is that? Well, it's not really that lame if you think about it, said Naruto. The true purpose of our sensei's exam was not to test our strength, but our teamwork. Most genin would have thought that it was to test our strength. The test was also designed to make us work against each other. Well, when you put it that way. By the way, Naruto, said Shikamaru, where is that big sword you were carrying with you earlier? I don't see it. I left it in my apartment. It would have been a pain in the butt to bring it here. Besides, it's not like someone can steal it from me. No one other than me can pick it up. What do you mean? Asked Kiba. Why don't you tell them, Sasuke, what happened when you tried to pick Frostborn up? How was the experience? I got my entire hand frozen in ice that didn't crack even when I slammed it against a wall. It only shattered when Naruto willed it to shatter. I couldn't break it on my own. That's scary, bro, said Kiba. How did you get a sword like that? Did you steal it? It's mine, that's all you need to know, said Naruto. Now, what is there to eat? I'm starving. Choji laughed and informed Naruto that food was already on its way. They had ordered for 2 Chojis plus some for normal people. Soon, after all the food had been eaten, Naruto stood up and was about to leave when Sasuke stopped him and asked to walk with him. Not really caring that much, Naruto complied and said yes. So, Naruto, I want to know. How are you so strong? I have festered my hate for so long, but I have not gotten me to the level of strength that you possess. What is it that drives you? What makes you so strong? I fight for my loved ones, I fight for others. I do not fight for revenge. I know it may sound cheesy, but that is how I am. I fight for others, not myself. I can't think of any other way to describe myself. I see, said Sasuke. Thank you for your time. Sasuke turned away from Naruto, who walked back to his apartment and placed his hand on Frostborn, rubbing the hilt slightly before changing out of his clothes into his nightwear. Naruto climbed into bed and fell asleep. Naruto's Mindscape. Naruto awoke and saw what could be described as the most appealing woman Naruto had ever seen. Her black hair flowed down to her shoulders like a stream. Her body was perfect, the curves being just right, not too much, but not too little either. In Naruto's opinion, she was a goddess. "For you?" asked Naruto as he summoned Frostborn. The woman giggled a bit before answering. "I am your master, I am Cammy, the one whom your clan has served for many generations." Naruto stared at the woman before him. This was Cammy. Naruto was in shock. He knew that the Lich King had told him that she would come, but never like this. He had assumed it was only after he had done something worthy of her name. Why was she here now? I bet you're wondering why you are here when you've just started to take your ninja training seriously, correct? Asked Cammy. Naruto slowly nodded. Well, I am here to grant you access to your Namake's bloodline. You may be the descendant of the Lich King, but you have none of his undead abilities. You only have access to the abilities of the Soul Style and my Divine Style. The only thing you have received from the Lich King is the ability to wield Frostborn. That man can be so lazy, not explaining what exactly the Namake's bloodline is. Wait, what exactly is the true form of the Namake's bloodline, then? Asked Naruto. Cammy held out her hand and pointed her palm right at Naruto's heart. Divine spirits intertwine with this soul. Souls of those long gone, intertwine with this soul. I give unto thee the power to wield mine holy chakra and chakra powered by the souls of those long gone, chanted Cammy as golden and icy blue energy began to swirl around Cammy. A beam made of intertwined icy blue and golden energy shot out from her palm and hit Naruto in the chest. Naruto's body was racked with pain as his arms writhed and his body twisted and turned. Nothing could be more painful than this process. I'm sorry, Naruto, whispered Cammy, but you will have to endure. You are my champion, and you will have to endure this pain in order to gain your wings, in order to become my champion. Naruto's body turned transparent and Cammy was able to see his chakra network, which housed both blue and red chakra. The icy blue and golden chakras then began making their way through the chakra network, creating their own networking intertwined around the original chakra network. "Aish!" yelled Naruto as he let out a blood-curdling scream. Naruto began to claw at the ground around him. Naruto began to roll around. A great thumping noise could be heard in the cage behind Naruto as the Kyuubi himself came to the front to watch Naruto. "Kami-sama, so you are accepting my host as your champion. Will you watch over him unlike the others that you have made your champion?" Those deaths were mistakes that should have never happened, But yes, I will watch over Naruto as closely as I have watched over my siblings. He will be taken care of under my care. Good, said another voice. Cammy and the QB turned to see the Lich King walking towards Naruto. I do not want to see the only heir that I have had that could wield Frostborn for the first time in many generations die because of your mistakes. Mark my words, Cammy, there will be hell to pay if he dies. You have my word, Lich. Now get out of my presence. You are insult to nature. It is a wonder why I allowed you to continue to exist. Your descendants may have been pure-hearted, but you never were. Blah 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 like I care. Will you give my descendant a weapon capable of utilizing your divine chakra? He already has Frostborn to wield his soul chakra, but nothing for his divine. Fine, growled Cammy as she summoned the katana of Naruto. This is a fine blade. It will serve Naruto well. Cammy held out the blade as she let her golden chakra to flow through the entirety of the katana, engulfing it in its golden light. When the light died down, there was nothing new to note about the katana, but the blade was no longer the same. Instead of the normal silvery steel look, the blade was pure white, almost like a crystal. Yes, this will serve him well and will be able to channel divine chakra through it. But you want to know if he will grow arrogant with the amount of power he will have at his disposal, correct? Asked the Lich King. Like how I did when I got that amount of power. Yes, but unlike you, he had a heart incapable of evil. He will not be corrupted, said Cammy as she watched Naruto's body writhe in pain. He will become great. My champion will be the savior of this world. The world will change because of his actions. Aren't you being a little overdramatic? Deadpanned the Lich King. He may be great, but the world will not instantly change because of one person, and you've said that in the past. Mao, must you ruin my fun? Pouted Cammy. And yes, it was supposed to be that dramatic, because he's my champion. Lich King just sweat dropped and went back to watching his descendant twist and turn in pain. But, said Cammy in a more serious tone, that will only happen if he survives it, and at this point that is questionable. Suddenly, Naruto let out another blood-curdling scream as two wings started to grow from his back. One of them was golden and the other was icy blue. It's begun. What has begun? Asked the Lich King, and why is Naruto growing wings? None of my descendants before this have grown wings during this process. That would be because none of them were blessed with the ability to use soul style and divine style, replied Cammy. Cammy smiled as Naruto's wings continued to grow at a continuous rate. And I am sure that Naruto will be my most powerful champion yet. Are you sure about this? Asked the Lich King. Nope, cried Cammy with a smile. The Lich King stared at her in shock. She wasn't sure about this, and yet she went through with the plan. How crazy was this goddess? Yelled Naruto as his eyes snapped open as he grew aware of the feelings he possessed outside of the pain he felt. Naruto was breathing and sweat running down his body as he regained his full mental processes. Naruto looked around and saw Cammy looking down on him. Cammy-sama, whispered Naruto. Naruto turned his head and saw the QB and the Lich King staring down at him as well. What are you two doing here? Do not assume that I want to be here, brat, growled the QB. I am here to see your growth since we last met 2 months ago. And I would have to say that you have grown in strength. I can proudly call you my host. Yes, that is all good and all, but it is not the reason we are all here, said the Lich King. We are here to welcome the new champion of Cammy. Yes, said a smiling Cammy, you are indeed my champion, Nathan. Look behind you, and you will see your proof as my champion. Naruto turned his head, and to his shock were 2 wings, both of different color. What did you do to me? Yelled Naruto as he grabbed Frostborn and pointed it at Cammy. How come there are wings growing out my back? How else did you do to my body? Did you change my bone structures? What about my healing abilities? What else? You added 2 chakra networks, I know that, but I did not give you permission to change my body. Now, what did you do? I didn't do anything, whispered Cammy as she walked over to Naruto and passed him the katana. This is the katana that was given to you by your mother. I have altered it so that you may channel divine chakra through it. Naruto glared at Cammy and took the katana from Cammy's outstretched hands and slipped into his sash. That didn't answer my question. What else about me has changed? Look at your eyes when you have your wings when you return to the real world. You will know the answer. However, know that I have not given you a bloodline that is easy to control. I have given you access to it, not full control over it. If I did, then you would be much too strong, and I don't think that would be a good thing. No, you will have to learn to control your bloodline on your own. But I will tell you how to retract your wings. You just have to imagine them being retracted, but you also have to will the wings to retract. The same thing will have to be done to extend them. Fine, growled Naruto, but I won't be as trusting next time. I did not ask to be changed into this champion of Cammy. I just wanted to be a ninja of Konoha. But seeing as how they are now a part of me, I might as well practice with them, unless you can remove them. No, unfortunately, they are permanent, said Cammy sadly, forgetting again to take into account the feelings of the recipient. I am sorry, Naruto-kun. Save your breath for someone who cares. Right now, I am mad at all of you. I did not want to be changed into some angel. I wanted to be human. I may have been a host, but at least I was still human. Now, I am no longer that. Are there more of my kind? There is, but... But what? Yelled Naruto. The other is an enemy, belonging to the clan that is directly opposed to yours. There are only two of you, and the one that is your counterpart will not show you any mercy. Fine, growled Naruto. I'll be practicing flying in here if you don't mind. Naruto flexed his wings and started to beat his wings experimentally, trying to take off and float in the air. After a few minutes, Naruto was finally able to figure out how to beat his wings so that he would begin to float in the air. As soon as Naruto was able to begin floating in the air, Naruto leaned forward, but as soon as he did so, Naruto fell to the ground. Deepening, grumbled Naruto from the floor. Naruto picked himself up and began to float back up into the air. Once he had gained significant altitude, Naruto tried leaning forward, but this time, trying to keep his balance even on both sides. As he did this, the three that Naruto had yelled at watched on in silence. Naruto had long since passed the threshold of pain that he once had, but he still wasn't recovered and shouldn't be training right now, but they couldn't stop him even if they wanted to. Nothing they could say would persuade Naruto to stop what he was doing. Soon though, Naruto began to glow, signaling he was waking up in the real world, and was now time for him to disappear from the Mindscape. Real world Naruto's eyes snapped open in bed as he awoke from his Mindscape. Naruto slowly got out of bed, and took off his shirt before walking over to his bathroom and looking in the mirror. In the mirror, he saw his normal self. Naruto then began to concentrate HRD on his body, and imagined the wings coming out of his shoulder blades. Soon, the left golden wing began to emerge, before snapping out to its full length. Naruto then did the same with his right icy blue wing, which also snapped out to its full length. As he did so, Naruto noticed that his left eye had turned golden, and his right eye was now icy blue instead cerulean blue. After retracting his wings, Naruto began pulling on his clothes. First he put on his white weighted breathes and shirt, before using an orange sash to keep his breathes up. Naruto then placed his ninja pouch on his left hip. Naruto opted not to take Frostborn, leaving it in the frozen block of ice and embedded in the floor. However, Naruto did take his Bakken with him before heading towards the team training ground. First, Naruto created a group of 50 clones to work on ninjutsu, another 50 to work on barriers using the scrolls from the Namake's mansion, another 50 to work on chakra control, and another 50 to work on sword work. Naruto, himself, began to work on his taijutsu using the trees as his target for practice. Naruto was punching, weaving, kicking, using his special taijutsu techniques on the tree, beating the entire thing up. What is going on here? Came a voice from behind Naruto. Naruto looked and saw Sasuke, astounded by the amount of clones that were doing work. Hello Sasuke, said Naruto as he continued to punch and kick the tree. I see you are already here. What you see before you is the method of my training, a method that will only work for me. What do you mean? What I mean, Sasuke, is that the clones that you see doing all these exercises are actually solid clones of me. These solid clones can do anything on their own, and have their own chakra network. Anything that they do, I get their memories of. For example, if one of my clones did chakra control and shred it, when it dispelled, I would then be able to do it as well. However, asked Sasuke, apprehensive as to what Naruto would say next. Only I can do this training because the amount of chakra needed to make a single shadow clone is quite substantial. According to the Hokage, I have more chakra than most jounin. What? That is impossible, yelled Sasuke. Actually, Naruto is correct, said a voice. The real Naruto and Sasuke turned to see Kakashi walking through the field of Narutos with Sakura while holding 2 large bags. Naruto actually has more chakra than I could ever hope of having. And if he is able to gain a fine control over that chakra, he will monstrous strength, but that is neither here or now. The first thing that we will be doing is some training while doing some D-rank missions. No, yelled Naruto. Please, Kakashi-sensei, don't make us do those missions. They are horrible and deadly. They are the bane of a genin. Don't make us suffer through them. Oh, and what do you know about them? Asked Sakura. I did some over the 2-month break to get some extra money. Let me tell you, cleaning out the Inuzuka dog kennel is not very fun, cried Naruto as the memories assaulted his mind. Please, Kakashi-sensei, let us skip to C rank. How about no? You will be doing D ranks along with your fellow teammates. Now, before we go, I have 5 gifts for all of you, said Kakashi as he dropped the contents of whatever he was carrying in his bags. In the left bag were 3 weights. In the right bag were 12 weights. Each of you take 1 from the left pile and put it on your waist. Take 4 from the other pile and put 1 on each limb. For the legs, put it on your shin. For the arms, put it on your forearm. The genin nodded each and began to place each weight on the specified location. Kakashi-sensei, is this supposed to weigh anything? Asked Naruto. I don't feel anything. Are you wearing weighted clothing, Naruto? Yeah, why? How much on each limb? A little more than 100 pounds, sensei, replied Naruto. Why, how much did the weights weigh? 20 pounds. Okay, come here, I need to increase the weight. Naruto approached Kakashi as Kakashi began to weave some hand seals before tapping each of Naruto's weights. Fuinjutsu, weights, 130 pounds. The weight on Naruto's limbs changed so rapidly that he almost fell down before he steadied himself. After taking a few experimental steps and doing some light exercises, Naruto was ready. Okay, let's go, yelled Naruto. Let's finish these missions so I can get back to training. Yes, said Kakashi. I know you want to get back to doing training, but you can still have your clones do their training. Now come on, we have to get going. Naruto nodded as he mentally directed the clones in what they were to do. The 2 mental commands he gave were to work on the manipulation of divine and soul chakra. The entire Team 7 walked towards the mission office, intent on picking up at least 3 missions before heading back to the training grounds to get some training done. Naruto smiled when he entered the office and saw someone that he knew well. Ichiraku-sensei, yelled Naruto. Ah, Naruto, so you passed your entrance exam? Asked Ichiraku as he looked through the missions. And seeing as how your clones already came through here and took some of the missions, I would think that you are here to do some team exercises. Am I right, Kakashi-san? You are indeed, said Kakashi. Now, are there any particularly dreadful ones? What are you saying, Kakashi-sensei? Why are you asking for the dreadful ones? Yelled Naruto. Are you crazy? Knowing Ichiraku, that'll mean dash. Well, there's the kennel mission or the Tora mission. Which do you want? Asked Ichiraku. The Tora. What's the record time so far? Let's see. Well, Naruto set the time a few weeks ago with 1 hour and 45 minutes on his own. I wonder if he'll be able to do that again or less with a team, or will they just slow him down? Well, here you go, said Ichiraku, handing Kakashi the scroll. Actually, Ichiraku, give me the other one as well. I think I'll have my team do both of them. It'll be a good way to get them more workable with each other. Naruto stared in terror as Kakashi accepted the other scroll as well. Naruto started to cry anime tears. No, whispered Naruto, how could you, Ichiraku-sensei? You've doomed us. Yeah, said Ichiraku, it'll help you. Now get going. I had to do the same thing when I was a genin, and I survived, so you'll be able to do it as well. Naruto stared at Ichiraku with a look of despair as Sakura dragged him out of the mission office. Naruto was still in shock. What had he done to deserve this cruel fate? He was fine with letting his clones do it because he wasn't the one actually doing it, but now. Kakashi smiled as he watched his cute little genin try to figure out a strategy to capture the demon cat known as Tora, which had haunted many generations of genin, even going back to the time of the Yondaime Hokage's time as a genin. They now had found the location of the demon cat Tora. "So, Naruto, do you have a plan for capturing this beast?" asked Sakura. "Could you use a barrier to stop Tora from moving so that Sasuke or I can grab her?" "Yes, I do." "Sasuke, take this," said Naruto, handing a tag over to Sasuke. "Place this on Tora and channel some chakra into it. It will temporarily paralyze Tora long enough for us to place her back in the hands of Lady Shinji." Naruto whipped out 2 tags and threw them into the air. Swallow WHP. The 2 bird-like creatures flew up into the air to watch Tora's location. Naruto then placed 2 seals on either end of the alleyway that Tora was occupying before walking into the alley. "Hey cat!" yelled Sakura, distracting Tora from Naruto while Naruto began forming hand seals and the tags began to glow golden. "Fuinjutsu, Kekai, rectangular barrier," cried Naruto. The glowing tags began shooting beams at the other tags before encasing the entire alleyway in a golden barrier. Sasuke landed in the alleyway behind Tora just as the barrier had closed. Now it was all a matter of getting the Demon's seal onto Tora. Sasuke began chasing the Demon cat with chakra-induced super speed, but was still not fast enough to get the tag on the cat. "Sakura, a little help," cried Sasuke. "Fine," said Sakura as she created 3 clones who began charging at the cat, who screeched and began running towards Sasuke, who was then able to slap the seal onto the back of Tora before she ran off. Sasuke smirked and flared his chakra. As he did, the seal began to glow blue and froze Tora's limbs. "Kekai, Kai," said Naruto, lazily dismissing the barrier as well as the swallow W's as the pieces of paper fell to the ground. "Well, that's one mission out of the way. Now time for the smelly one." Naruto took a big gulp before he began walking towards the Inuzuka clan compound, where Naruto could smell before he even entered the compound. "Ga, what is that smell?" asked Sakura. "It smells like dung that was left outside to sit for at least a week." "That, Sakura," said Kakashi, "would be the dog poop. And you and your team gets the honor of cleaning it out for the Inuzuka clan." If looks could kill, then Sakura would have killed Kakashi. Now, don't give me such harsh looks. It's not good for you. Now get cleaning." Naruto sighed before turning to his teammates. "Okay, my clones have already done this, so I know a good strategy to employ to wash out the pens. Sasuke, do you know any Earth-style jutsu?" "No." "Sakura." "Well, no, why?" "DMN. Sasuke, I want you to make these hand seals and pour as much chakra into the jutsu while leaving enough chakra to use a fireball jutsu when you use it. Sakura, you need to get the dogs out of the kennel. Once they are out of the kennel, Sasuke, you will use that jutsu to create a wall between the dogs and the kennel. The jutsu is called Earth Style, Stone Wall." "Understood, but what will you be doing?" "I'll be using a water style jutsu and a fuinjutsu that summons water to wash out all the poop. Then Sasuke will use his fireball to ignite the poop, burning it away. After that, I will use a wind jutsu to blow away the smell and the dry off the kennel before we let the dogs back in," replied Naruto. "Everyone know their jobs." Both Sakura and Sasuke nodded. "Then let's go." The 3 walked into the compound and Sakura and Naruto began the job of luring the dogs away from the kennel to the point where Sasuke would create the wall. "Earth Style, Stone Wall," yelled Sasuke as he poured about 1/3 of his chakra into the jutsu to create a stone wall to keep the dogs from going back to the kennel and letting out more poop. Once the dogs been separated from the kennel, the real fun began. "Fuinjutsu, Water Wave," yelled Naruto as he threw a tag into the kennel and made a hand seal to let the water flow out through the kennel, washing some of the poop out. "Water Style, Water Stream Jutsu," yelled Naruto as he more water, which washed out the rest of the poop. "Now, Sasuke." "On it," yelled Sasuke as he jumped into the air, already weaving hand seals. "Fire Style, Fireball Jutsu." The wet poop instantly dried up and then lit on fire, burning away and into the air, but still leaving the smelly odor in the area. My turn now, wind style, air wave, whispered Naruto as he swung his arms, blowing the smell towards the Hyuga clan compound. And now, fire style, heat. Naruto let out a large wave of heat that began evaporating the water that was in the kennel. Naruto then turned to the stone wall that was keeping the dogs at bay. Earth style, pressure point breaker, cried Naruto as he slammed his hand into wall, making the wall crumble into pieces. Naruto then jumped out of the way as they ran back into their kennel. Naruto turned to their client, Inuzuka. Boy, you did well, especially being inventive with your jutsu and fuinjutsu. I've already paid the Hokage. He will give you your money. Thanks for the help. Your clones use the same strategy whenever they come here to clean the kennels, so I'm guessing you know the secret of the technique. Yes, Tsum-sama. Thank you for the praise, said Naruto, bowing slightly before grinning. But I would watch out for the Hyugas. Naruto then ran out of the compound, followed by Sakura and Sasuke. Tsum wondered what that was about before she heard a yell from the direction of the Hyuga compound. Inuzuka. See, so that's what he meant, said Tsum as she made herself scarce. Hokage's office. Okay, so you guys completed all the missions that you chose today. Unless you'd like some D-rank missions? No, yelled Naruto. No. I do not want to have another one of those. Those missions can hardly be called missions. They are like chores or busy work. Fine, then leave, Naruto, said Ichiraku. You guys don't have to do any more missions. Go back to your training. Naruto smiled and leapt in joy before running out of the mission office. Sasuke just stared at Ichiraku before leaving to follow Naruto. Naruto arrived at the training ground to see that his clones were still working hard. He could also hear his teammates and sensei arrive behind him. Everyone, disperse in groups of 5 with a 20-second interval between each group dispersion. I don't want a headache like last time you guys decided it would be a good idea not to follow my orders. Yes, boss, yelled the clones as they began to disperse. Naruto closed his eyes as he began to assimilate all the information in his brain from the clones' memories. After waiting for 13 minutes, Naruto had finally processed all the information. What is he doing waiting there for 13 minutes? Asked Sakura as Kakashi made her run around the training field. Is he in shock? No, said Kakashi as he and Sasuke ran along with Sakura. He is waiting for all his clones to disperse so that he can gather all the memories that they had gathered. That is the key element of the shadow clones, and with Naruto having the amount of chakra he has, it is the perfect tool for Naruto's training. What the perfect tool for my training? Asked Naruto as he came up behind the three. Nothing, just talking how the shadow clones are the perfect way for you to train. Now, we are all running to get our physical shape up. Well, you're probably much better off than the rest of the team, but you still need to do this with us. Naruto nodded and continued to run with the others. 2 weeks later, got you, yelled Naruto as he grabbed a cat and restrained her using a paralyzing tag. Sasuke. Naruto threw the cat at Sasuke, who passed the cat to Sakura, who confirmed the target with Kakashi before they all began walking back to the mission office. It had been 2 weeks since the formation of their team, and already they had done 50 D-rank missions, and all of them were sick of them. Here you go, said Sakura as she passed the cat to Fire Lady Shinji. The Fire Lady then handed a sack of coins to the Hokage, who passed it over to Ichiraku to count out the pay for the 3 genin who had done it. Okay, so Team 7, now that you have finished that mission, you can take another D-rank. You can wash the Inuzuka kennels, you can walk Sahashi-san's dogs, you can? No, yelled Naruto. We've been doing these D-rank missions for the past 2 weeks, and we've exceeded the amount of missions to get a C-ranked mission. I want one. Yes, Hokage-sama, said Sasuke. While I will not express it like Naruto did, I too am getting sick of just doing D-rank missions, so I would like to ask for a C-rank mission. Agreed, said Sakura. These D-rank missions are getting real old. Please, Hokage-sama. The Hokage regarded the team with jaded eyes. Kakashi, what do you think? And depending on the mission, I may send another team with you. Kakashi sighed and closed his book before he answered. Hokage-sama, said Kakashi, while this team hasn't been around for a long time, their exceptional teamwork and individual skills make them a match for any seasoned genin team. That doesn't answer the question, said Sarutobi. Are you supporting their decision to participate in a C-rank mission? Or are you against it? I, Kakashi Hatake, sensei of Team 7, put my full support behind their request for a C-rank mission, said Kakashi as he smiled. But which team would we be paired up with? If you can defeat any of the other genin teams that graduated from the academy at the same time as Team 7, then you may go on your own. Now, which team would you like to face? Asked Sarutobi. Naruto looked at his teammates and they both nodded. Team, we will face and destroy Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata Hyuga, and Shino Eburum, declared Naruto. Hee, as if you could defeat us, yelled a voice. Naruto turned his head to see Kiba walk in through the door. I quite agree with my student, said Kurenai as she too walked in. Kakashi's team isn't strong enough to defeat my team, but I will gladly allow them to try. Very well, said Sarutobi. Ichiraku-kun, will you please oversee this battle? You will be the ref for the battle. I want it to be a 3-on-3 battle. Use the Chunin exam rules for the fight. Yes, Hokage-sama, replied Ichiraku as he stood up. We will be going to training ground 7. Are all of you ready? No, said the blonde ninja. I need to get something from my apartment before we begin. I'll be at the training ground soon. Naruto dashed out of the mission office and headed back to his apartment where he grabbed the leather binding and attached it to his back. Naruto then grabbed Frostborn from the icy block before slipping the blade through the leather bindings. Naruto left the bakken in his sash. He was still used to the weight of the bakken and hadn't used his katana in practice yet. When Naruto arrived, his teammates and Team 8 were ready with Ichiraku standing to the side. Naruto nodded at Kakashi, who just smiled at his team. This match is between Team 8 and Team. Any techniques that do not maim, kill, or are fatal are allowed. I reserve the right to stop this match at any time should I feel the need to. Now let the match begin. What's the strategy, Naruto? Sasuke, start off with a wide-range fire jutsu. I will bolster it with a wind jutsu, said Naruto as he saw Team 8 running at them. Sasuke nodded and began forming his seals. Fire style, Grand Fireball Jutsu. Wind style, Great Breakthrough. As Sasuke shot out a gigantic fireball, Naruto increased its power and size with his wind jutsu. Ready yourselves, said Naruto. Soon, Kiba and Hinata ran out through the smoke. Sakura, Genjutsu on Kiba. Sasuke, take out Hinata. Sakura and Sasuke nodded while both Shino and Naruto observed the battles. On the sidelines, well, Kakashi, said Kurenai, it looks like Naruto isn't useless anymore. Yes, I would say that he isn't, replied Kakashi, not revealing any critical information. But that doesn't mean he'll be able to win. We'll see. Battlefield, Naruto glanced over the field and made a decision. Reaching up, Naruto grabbed his Jien and unsheathed it. Frostborn, yelled Naruto. Soul Style, Arctic Winds. As soon as the jutsu was announced, both Sakura and Sasuke disengaged themselves from their fights and let the winds pass under them as they hit both Kiba and Hinata. Alright, here's the next plan. Trap them. You have the tags. Yes. Good. It seems that your opponents are good matchups for you, but we're going to do this unorthodoxly. I'll take Kiba. Sasuke, you'll go after Shino. Sakura, you'll take Hinata. Sakura, I want you to hit Hinata as hard as you would if it were me asking you on a date while we were in the academy. As soon as he said that, Naruto gulped. The grin on Sakura's face had begun to scare him. Good, said Sakura. Now let's get this party started. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura charged at their targets. As he ran, Naruto sheathed his sword, deciding that it would not be appropriated for the upcoming fight. So, said Kiba, the dead last thinks that he can take me just because he now has a glowing sword. This will be one for the history books. We'll see about that, muttered Naruto as his own kunai met Kiba's kunai in a big bang. Naruto and Kiba clashed, kunai on kunai, fist on fist. The two ninja continued their fight, not caring about any of the other fights. Naruto slammed his two kunai into the arms of Kiba while knocking the arms to the side. Naruto then slammed his right foot into Kiba's chin, knocking him into the air. As he was in the air, Naruto slammed his fist right into Kiba's stomach. Shadow Clone Jutsu, muttered Naruto, summoning a clone. Naruto then threw the clone right at Kiba, who just punched the clone in the stomach. However, Naruto smirked when Kiba brought the clone in close to stab with a kunai. Exploding clone jutsu, whispered Naruto, detonating the clone. Kiba screamed in pain as he fell backwards from the explosion. Naruto jumped into the air and drew 3 kunai, all of them having the same tag attached to it, before hurling them around Kiba in a triangular formation. Kiba braced for impact, but was surprised when they didn't detonate. "Ha!" yelled Kiba as he stopped bracing and looked up at Naruto, who was still floating in the air. "Your tags are defective. If you were trying to create a smokescreen by using explosive tags, you have utterly failed, just like you do in life." "Well," muttered Naruto as he landed on the ground, "it seems the mutt believes himself to have a brain. That wasn't my goal, and my tags aren't defective. Fuinjutsu, Kekai, Trigram Jutsu." The tags on the kunai began to glow and shot beams at the other tags, creating a blue triangle around Kiba, which also immobilized Kiba. "What did you do to me?" yelled Kiba as he struggled to move, but his body would not listen to single command of Kiba's. It just would not move at all. Naruto smiled as he walked over towards the triangular barrier. "I froze your movements. That was the true purpose of the kunai. It wasn't to create a smokescreen or something as basic as that. No, it was to trap you and ensure that you could not move at all. After all, an immobile shinobi is as good as a dead shinobi," said Naruto as he pulled back his arm and threw a kunai right at Kiba's chest. However, a white blur flashed right through the path of the kunai before landed next to one of the tagged kunai. The blur turned out to be Akamaru, who used the kunai to knock the tagged kunai out of place, disrupting the barrier. "Well, looks like you forgot an important detail," said Kiba. "I do not fight on my own. I fight with my partner, Akamaru, and he fights with me. We are a team." Yes, I did make that mistake," said Naruto as he reached down towards his tag container. "But at least you had a somewhat decent plan to escape your binding. And I will not forget about your partner, Akamaru again. Now, are you ready to lose?" "Like hell I am," growled Kiba as he prepared to engage in taijutsu. Kiba then began his charge, however Naruto jumped backwards and threw a handful of tags, which lined themselves up in 3 rows of 5 tags. Naruto began weaving a few hand seals before ending in a rat seal. "Fuinjutsu, fire arrows," yelled Naruto as he let loose a volley of fire arrows right at the charging Kiba. Kiba tried to duck, but he was still hit by the arrows, knocking him backwards. "Deepening. Akamaru, let's use it. Beast human clone jutsu," yelled Kiba, creating a clone of himself from Akamaru. "Fong over Fong," yelled Kiba as he began spinning like a drill at Naruto. Calmly, Naruto held up a tag. "Kekai, rectangular barrier," muttered Naruto, creating a green barrier from the tag. Kiba and Akamaru ran right into the barrier, sending them backwards. Naruto then threw another 4 seals into the air surrounding Kiba. "Fuinjutsu, lightning trap." Lightning began to spark off of the seals and shot towards each of the different seals before lightning shot off of all 4 seals and hit Kiba and Akamaru. Naruto then threw another 2 seals at the down ninja. "Fuinjutsu, earthbind," whispered Naruto as the earth around Kiba began to move and wrapped around the downed shinobi. Naruto then began weaving another set of hand seals. "Wind style, cutting edge." Naruto made an X with his hands before he slashed both hands towards Kiba, sending blades of wind at the ninja, cutting his body up. "Deepening. Akamaru, get him," growled Kiba as he let a soldier pill fall from his pocket. The dog, who had taken the form of Kiba, growled and rushed forwards and grabbed the pill off the ground and gobbled it up, giving Akamaru an extra edge. "Fool," whispered Naruto. "Akamaru cannot even hope to beat me." Naruto appeared right behind Akamaru with his hand outstretched in a knife position with lightning sparking off of the hand. Suddenly, a huge gash opened up on Akamaru's body, and he fell before reverting back to his dog form. "Akamaru," yelled Kiba from the ground. Naruto stared at him with no emotion on his face, just a neutral, blank look. Naruto looked at his teammates and saw that they too were wrapping up their fights. "Kekai, paralysis," muttered Sasuke as he finally got a good hit on Shino, slapping the tag onto Shino as he formed a rat seal to activate the tag. Just as Shino was about to use his Kikai to remove the tag, his entire body froze up and Shino fell to the ground. Naruto looked over to Sakura and the same thing had happened. "This match is over," declared Ichiraku, seeing as how none of the Team 8 shinobi could move a muscle, let alone fight. The winner of this fight is Team, and as per the Hokage's order, Team 7 will be allowed to go on the mission without the aid of Team. Congratulations, Team 7. Ichiraku nodded to the two Jounin-sensei before taking out a scroll and handing it to Kakashi. "This is the mission scroll. You will meet the client at the front gate tomorrow at 8 a.m. Do not be late. The Hokage will give your share of the next A and S ranking missions that you do to your genin if you even think about being late." "What?" ummed Kakashi as he took the scroll and opened it up to read. "That is so not fair. He can't do that." "Well, he can and he will," replied Ichiraku before leaving. "Don't be late, Kakashi." Kakashi growled before reading the scroll that was given to him by Ichiraku. After reading over the scroll, Kakashi understood what had to be done. "Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke, come here," said Kakashi as he called over the three shinobi. "I know that the object of the competition was to see if we could go on the mission alone, but I would not advise it." "And why not?" asked Sasuke. "Because there is a high chance of meeting a ninja that is stronger than me on this mission," replied Kakashi. "We believe the client is not telling the truth when it comes to the danger. We believe he is shot on money, and therefore is not telling us what the true danger of the mission really is. That is why I believe we should take Team 8. "No, Kakashi-sensei," said Naruto. "This will make it seem like we don't care about whether we won or not. I say we ask a different genin team." "Which one?" asked Sakura. "Team 9, replied Naruto. "But that one is from last year's genin. Have you even met with them?" "Yes. One of their team members, Lee, is my sparring partner for taijutsu. According to his sensei, we have a similar relationship to what he and Kakashi-sensei have." "Wait, what?" asked Kakashi. "You know about Guy and my relationship?" "Of course," replied Naruto. "I spar with his mini-me. Of course I know about it. So, is that a reasonable request? Or is it not a request that you will take?" "I'll take it. I will inform Guy of the mission tomorrow. Go get some rest. We will have a long day tomorrow. You are to meet me at the front gates at 8 a.m. sharp. Any tardiness will result in you doing a whole day of intense physical training." "Yes, sensei," yelled the three genin. Naruto turned to his teammates and smiled. "How about we go out to eat? It'll be my treat. We can go to that barbecue place that we went to on the day of our genin exam." Both Sakura and Sasuke nodded their consent. It had been a while since they had gone out to eat. It would be nice to do something together. While they were initially argued like cats and dogs, their team was coming together. "Sure, that sounds like fun. Besides, with all the D-rank missions and training that we've been doing these past few weeks, I could really use a break," said Sakura. The entire team chuckled at that statement. Out of the entire team, Sakura had been the one who had begun devoting most of her time to training. Like Naruto, she had started wearing weighted clothing in addition to the weights that Kakashi had distributed to the team. The team walked through the village together, intent on going to Yakiniku-Q. Naruto admired the building for a few seconds before he went inside the building with his teammates and sat down at one of the booths with his friends. "Hello," said one of the servers. "What can I get you today?" Naruto peered down at the menu before making a choice. "We'll have all-around style servings of beef, pork, and chicken. I would like the meat to be half individual pieces and half skewered. As for a drink, I'll take some water." "Anything else in terms of food?" asked the server. "No," said Sasuke, "but I'll take some tomatoes on the side and some water." "Sakura?" asked Sasuke, looking to his female teammate. "No extra food for me," said Sakura, "but I'll also take some water." "Thank you." The server nodded while writing everything down on his notepad before collecting all the menus. After collecting the menus, the server walked over to the front, where he gave the menus to the people who dealt with seating people before heading towards the kitchen. Naruto smiled and leaned back with his hands behind his head. "Sasuke-kun." Naruto slid downwards as he recognized the voice. The voice of one of the most annoying people from his graduating genin class, Ino Yamanaka. Naruto turned his head to see Ino enter the grill and was already walking over to sit down when Naruto slammed a seal on the table. "Kekai, rectangular barrier," growled Naruto as stopped Ino in her tracks with his barrier and, more specifically, stopping her team from sitting down with them. "Hey, what's going on?" asked Ino. "That, Ino," replied Naruto, "is a barrier that stops your team from sitting down with us. If I allowed you to, you would be eating our food and I am not paying for your meal. I am only paying for the meal of my teammates. I don't care if I should be helping you, I don't have the money to waste on you. The only people who I am willing to buy food for are Sasuke, Sakura, Ichiraku-sensei, Kakashi-sensei, and the old man, and why would us sitting with you be a bad thing?" Naruto gave her an curious look as he pointed right behind her, right at Choji. "Because you have him," replied Naruto. "He would eat me dry and not pitch a single cent in. No, you'll have to pay for your own food at a different table." Their sensei, Asuma, just shrugged and dragged his team away from Naruto's table and towards an empty booth. As soon as they left, Naruto took the seal off. "Naruto, would it really have been so bad as to pay for Choji's meal?" asked Sakura. Naruto stared at Sakura in exasperation. "Sakura, I know Choji better than you do. I have eaten with him. Do you remember how I eat ramen?" "Well, it's hard to forget that," mumbled Sasuke. "Yes, well, anyway, when it comes to barbecue, especially eating here, Choji is just like me with ramen. He will not stop eating unless they either run out of food or the person who is paying runs out of money. That is just how he is. And I do not have the money to feed his stomach." "Oh," said Sakura as the server walked over with some raw meat on a huge plate and placed it at the edge of the table before he placed a smaller plate in front of each of the genin. Naruto grabbed one of the tongs that were present on the table and used it to grab 3 pieces of beef, pork, and chicken and place it on the charcoal brazier to begin grilling the meat. At the same time, Sasuke placed 3 skewers of beef, chicken, and pork on the brazier. After a few minutes, Naruto used his chopsticks to grab some beef off the grill. "So," said Naruto as he put a piece of beef in his mouth, "what do you think our mission is going to be? I realize that it won't be one of those fantasies that I used to dream of, but I have no idea what it could be." "Did you not listen at all during the academy?" asked Sakura as she pulled a piece of pork of the skewer with her teeth. Ichiraku-sensei said that most C-rank missions are either low-ranking SERTS or bandit camp decimation. I'm more inclined to believe that our mission is an SERT, seeing as how we have no experience in killing people, so they probably wouldn't trust us with that yet. "Darn," muttered Naruto as he began grilling another piece of pork. "I was really hoping that it would be a bandit elimination mission. That would have been fun, and I would have gotten to test what my Frostborn does when I am to kill someone." "You mean you don't know?" asked Sasuke. "Well, I have an idea, but I have never actually seen what Frostborn does when I actually kill someone with him. It would be interesting to see what happens," said Naruto. "I'm kind of hoping that it seeks the souls of people out so that I can use the souls to power my soul jutsu." "That is disgusting and cool at the same time," said Sasuke as he ate a piece of chicken. "Naruto, put some more beef on the grill." Naruto complied, taking the rest of the beef and placing it on the grill. "Naruto, put the rest the skewers on the grill," said Sakura as she finished off her last shrimp skewer. "What am I, your server?" asked Naruto as he slid the food onto the grill to begin cooking them. He also slid the rest of the individual pieces of meat onto the grill and let the pork cook for a few minutes before he grabbed one. Replied Sasuke as he talked around his food. "That's all you're good for. You're better off being a cook." "Gee, thanks guys," said Naruto as he picked up a piece of meat with his chopsticks and slipped it into his mouth. After the 3 had finished the meal, they all went their separate ways to their houses. Once Naruto had gotten back to his apartment, Naruto began organizing his equipment in preparation for the mission that they would be given the next day. The first thing he did was make sure that all of his kunai were still in good condition, and luckily for him, they were. Naruto then turned to look at the katana. He hadn't touched it since it had been altered by Cammy. Reverently, Naruto grabbed the katana by its sheath and held it up into the air and unsheathed it, revealing the pure white blade. Naruto sighed before summoning a clone which had about 3/4 of his chakra. What do you need, boss? And why did you give me so much chakra? Here, said Naruto, tossing the clone the katana. I want you to go to our training ground and practice using the katana. Take a Bakken as well. When you get there, create about 50 clones and have them practice as well. Half of them practice using the chakra flow technique we read about with wind chakra and the other half just practicing using the katana. On it, boss, said the clone as he grabbed a Bakken from the stand next to Naruto's bed and left the apartment. Naruto took off his shirt and threw it on the bed before concentrating. As he did, 2 wings began to emerge from his shoulder blades, one golden and one icy blue. Naruto stared at his wings for a few seconds before retracting his wings and sitting down in a Zen position. Naruto closed his eyes as he concentrated on traveling to his Mindscape. Naruto's Mindscape. When Naruto arrived, the Lich King and Cammy were playing a game of cards. "Ha, I win," yelled Cammy as she jumped into the air. "Take that, you god-mad Lich King." Naruto just stared in shock as Cammy began running around the table that the two had been sitting at. Naruto coughed to get their attention. "Oh, you're back," said the Lich King as he stared the cards that were still in his hand and continued to play out the game, even if he had already lost. After getting down to the 5th card, he turned to look at Naruto. "Have you come to yell at us some more?" "No," said Naruto. "I have come to apologize. I said some very inappropriate things this morning and didn't realize what you were doing was actually to benefit me. I'm sorry. I should not have said them." Naruto got onto his knees and bowed before both beings. Cammy looked at her champion with guarded eyes and walked over to Naruto and knelt down to his level. "Naruto-kun, what made you think that we would do anything to harm you?" "Nothing. I just wasn't acting maturely. I lashed out rashly instead of stopping to think about what you had done and the reasons that you would have done it for. If I had, I would have realized that you never had any bad intentions, only good ones." "It is fine," said Cammy. "By the way, may I ask what is the name of the clan that are the enemies of the Namikaze?" "Yes. They are known as the Ryadoji. They were once allied with the Namikaze, and they too gained powers from me. However, they decided to defect and try to kill the head of the Namikaze. Because of that, I seized them of all powers that I had given them. But when I did, they went to another source of power, the Yamada no Orochi. This dragon blessed them with his dark energies before Susanoo killed him. But by that time, the damage was already done. The Ryadoji gained all their powers, only they were now twisted by the dark powers of the Yamada no Orochi. And so, they gained a champion of the Yamada no Orochi, while I am the champion of Cammy, right?" "Correct," said Cammy, nodding her head. "And their chance is closer than you think. After being banished, they joined the village hidden in the stones. So be wary." "I will," promised Naruto as he stood up to his full height and extended his wings to their full length. "And I will embrace what I have become. There is no use in fighting who I am. I just have to accept it and move on. Besides, who knows, maybe it'll turn out to be good." Naruto then summoned Frostborn. "Grandfather, may I have a spar? I really need someone to practice my swordsmanship on. Especially when it comes to Frostborn, huh?" asked the Lich King as he materialized his own version of the sword and his armor became compact instead of the bulky armor that he usually wore. "Fine, I'll satisfy you." Naruto charged forwards at his ancestor and swung his sword at the Lich King, who merely stepped backwards to dodge the attempt while at the same time, he moved his sword right at Naruto. Acting on instinct alone, Naruto slashed his sword upwards, knocking the sword away from his face before moving at the Lich King, who flipped into air to dodge the attack. Naruto spun his blade in his hand before running towards the Lich King. As he did, the blade of his sword began to glow an intense light blue. Soul Style, Frigid Snowstorm. Naruto held his blade in hand, one finger resting on the guard before he swung his blade wide, whipping up a snowstorm to obscure the Lich King's vision. However, the plan didn't work as well as Naruto had hoped. Naruto could see the Lich King's eyes glow in the snowstorm bore into Naruto. "That won't work, Naruto," rumbled the Lich King. "I can see through this pathetic excuse for a snowstorm. Now feast your eyes on the true snowstorm. Soul Style, Frigid Snowstorm." Naruto's eyes widened as the intensity of the snowstorm increased, obscuring his vision. Deepening, muttered Naruto as he closed his eyes. With this snowstorm, I'm as good as blind. Naruto began pulsating his chakra in waves multiple times to get a view of what was going on around him. Naruto then ran in the direction of the Lich King, ducking under what he could feel where the Lich King's sword would pass through. Naruto then slammed the butt of his sword hilt right into the side of the Lich King. Naruto let out another wave of chakra and could see the Lich King stumble before raising his sword in an attempt to behead Naruto. Naruto swung his sword upwards to deflect the attack away from himself before slashing downwards right at the Lich King's stomach. That isn't enough, yelled the Lich King as he knocked away the sword with an armored arm before kicking Naruto in the stomach, sending him flying away. That's enough for today, said the Lich King as he allowed the snowstorm to disappear. The Lich King allowed his sword to vanish and his armor to return to its bulky state. Leave. You aren't ready to test yourself against me. Come back when you can present a real challenge and will not be knocked around like a child's plaything. Yes, ancestor, replied Naruto as he disappeared from his mindscape. As soon as Naruto left, the Lich King grabbed his arm in pain. Hurriedly, Cammy rushed over to the injured warrior. Deepening, he's gotten better. He's good enough to take out any wannabe samurai or swordsman with his sword skills. But he isn't on par with any of the expert swordsmen. He will need a lot more training. Is that why you told him he wasn't good enough? To spur him on to train even more, and so that one day he will be able to face the expert swordsmen and be able to kick their butts? Asked Cammy as she used her divine chakra to heal the bruises that the Lich King had endured. More or less, yeah, replied the Lich King. Although more practice could never hurt him. Real-world Naruto's eyes snapped open as he looked around. He looked at the 2 scrolls that lay on his bed, the 2 scrolls that he had not received from the Sandaime. Naruto walked over and picked one of them up and began reading. The scroll he had in his hands detailed the usage of the divine chakra style. It went not only into fighting techniques and chakra manipulation exercises for this unique chakra, but also into healing techniques that only the divine chakra style could utilize. Naruto smiled. With this, he would be able to save his friends, no matter what. Naruto was suddenly assaulted with tons of information as every single clone except for the one that had most of his chakra dispersed, leaving Naruto with a huge headache. I'm gonna kill that clone when he gets back, mumbled Naruto. They know I hate it when they do it, and what do? They disperse all at once to give me a huge FNG headache. As soon as he had said that, the clone with the majority of his chakra appeared in the apartment, holding out the katana and the bakken. Here you go, boss, said the clone with a smile. You should have gained the memories of using the katana, so you will be able to use it in the mission tomorrow. I wish you well. Clone, tell me something. What happens when all the clones disperse at once, and not in small groups? You get a headache. Yes, and do I like headaches? Asked Naruto slowly. No? Oh, said the clone before he realized why Naruto was going along this line of questioning. And now it's time for you to be dismissed, growled Naruto as he unsheathed his sword, cutting right through the body of his clone. After sheathing his sword, Naruto placed it on the ice that held Frostborn, which encased the katana as well, leaving only the hilt uncovered. Naruto stood up and grabbed his equipment before leaving to go visit the Wolf Claw weapons store. When he entered, he saw Kazuto Yagami selling some kunai to another customer. Sneaking past the customer, Naruto went right over to the sealing supplies where he grabbed some sealing ink, sealing paper, and some blank scrolls. Naruto walked back over to the cash register, where Kazuto was waiting. Back for more sealing materials. How do you run out of sealing materials so fast? Well, said Naruto, I use them for my fuinjutsu, which I have started using a lot, and of course for my barriers. What do you mean? Asked Kazuto. Could you demonstrate one of your barriers for me? Of course I can, said Naruto as he took out 5 seals from his tag pouch. Now watch. Naruto threw them all into the air before creating the tiger seal to make all the tags to float into the correct place. And now for the main event, said Naruto as he ran through a number of seals before landing on the rat seal. Kekai Jutsu, Barrier of the 4 Sea Gods, 5-star barrier. yelled Naruto as his barrier began to form. Kazuto stared in amazement at the seal. Then, without warning, Naruto let the jutsu go, and the 5 tags floated back into Naruto's hand. The bad thing is that after one use, they are totally useless. It's why I buy so much seal paper, because after one use, I can't use it again. I see. Well, have a good day, said Kazuto as he bagged the paper up and pushed Naruto out of the store. Wait, but I didn't dash. That doesn't matter, said Kazuto. Just go. Next day, Naruto woke up at around 7:30 a.m. the next day and blinked the sleep away. He had stayed up a little longer than he had wanted to draw the seals on his tags. After throwing off his pajamas and his actual clothes on and activating his weight seals, Naruto grabbed his supplies scroll, which he had prepared last night, and placed it in his bag. Naruto then strapped Frostborn to his back and his katana into his sash. Naruto then grabbed some instant ramen, a copy of the Divine-style chakra scroll, the Heat-10 Mitsurugi, and the Soul-style chakra scroll. Naruto then walked out of his apartment, locking it up behind him. When he arrived at the gates, Naruto could see that the both teams were here, excluding the 2 Jounin sensei. Naruto-kun, yelled Lee as he ran towards his sparring partner and threw a gigantic punch at the blonde ninja. Naruto grinned as he ducked right underneath the punch, the fist flying right through his hair as Naruto let a punch fly at Lee's stomach, but was blocked by his leg. He then spun around and aimed a kick at Lee's head, which was also blocked by Lee's arm, who threw his own punch at Naruto's head. Naruto twisted and grabbed the fist before hurling the green-clad ninja towards the gate. Nice to see you too, Lee, said Naruto as he grasped his friend's outstretched arm. Your punches have gotten stronger. As have yours, my friend. I am not the only one who has increased in strength since we last sparred. When we get to our destination, if Gai-sensei and Kakashi-sensei allow it, I would wish to have another sparring match with you. That would be nice, replied Naruto. But be ready to suffer another horrifying defeat. You will not be able to win against me this time. So you say, my rival, so you say, said Lee as he clapped Naruto on the back. Ah, look, here comes Gai-sensei and Kakashi-sensei. Naruto turned to see Kakashi being dragged along by an incredibly happy Guy. Yash, it's good to see you all here, said Guy. Now, our mission is to SRT our client, Tazuna-san, back to his home in Nami no Kuni, and protect him and his family until his bridge is complete. We are expecting only bandits and such lowlife, but be prepared. There is always a possibility of the mission ranking going up, said Guy as he gestured to the old man wearing straw hat to show the genin who he was talking about. But first, since not all of us have worked together, let's introduce ourselves and say what our specialty is. My name is Sakura Haruno. My specialty is my monstrous strength, but I am capable of doing some genjutsu. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I specialize in fire ninjutsu and I am capable of using some genjutsu as well. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I specialize in lightning ninjutsu as well fuinjutsu, both regular and kekai. Gosh. My name is Rock Lee and I specialize in taijutsu. Yelled Lee. My name is Ten and I specialize in use projectile weapons, but I am capable of holding my own in close quarters. My name is Niji Hyuga and I specialize in taijutsu. My name is Mike Guy and I specialize in taijutsu. My name Kakashi Hataki and I specialize in ninjutsu, but I am well-rounded in all other areas. Everyone assimilated the different information, nodding as each person went. Okay, said Kakashi, now that we have that down, we will be deciding on the travel formation. Naruto, Lee, and Sasuke, you 3 will be at the front in a triangle. Naruto will take point with Lee and Sasuke flanking him. Right behind the 3 will be Niji, who will be using his Byakugan to look out for any enemies. Behind Niji will be Tazuna, and to Tazuna's sides will be Ten on his left and Sakura on his right. Guy will be right behind Tazuna, and I will be bringing up the rear. Any questions? If we are attacked, should Ten and I stay behind to defend Tazuna or go support Naruto, Sasuke, and Lee? Your main priority is to stay with Tazuna. Naruto, Lee, and Sasuke will be solely focused on taking out the enemy. Any other questions? Asked Kakashi. When no one raised their hands, Kakashi smiled. Okay then, let's head out. Everyone turned and walked right out through the gates as 2Y assembled into position.